You are now entering a dangerous liberty zone where God-given natural rights are held sacred and exercised. This is your warning. Tyranny, fascism, and censorship will not be tolerated. Ideas will be exchanged freely. Rigorous debate and open discourse is encouraged. If you are weak and your beliefs are fragile, you should leave now. Prepare yourself. We are now live on the Dangerous Liberty Podcast. All right, folks, welcome. Welcome to the podcast. I was not planning on streaming tonight. Actually, that's not exactly true. I was actually planning on having a guest. Then I got busy with a bunch of work activities that I just get pulled away from, so we're going to reschedule, and I want to apologize to the electric journalist. We're going to have her on probably next week. We got a full schedule this week, but a lot was going on, and I was just sitting down looking at Twitter, among other things, and just becoming enraged. And tonight's going to be a bunch of ranting. But folks, we are in a crisis in this country. And what is going on right now with this Candace Owens situation is such a dangerous thing. And if we don't wake up and realize what's happening and push back on this, and I'm calling to you people out there, folks, you got to start pushing back on this in any way that you can, in any way that you feel comfortable with, or maybe even get outside of your comfort zone a little bit, because folks, a lot of idiotic people out there are being tricked. Her followers, her surrogates are working overtime to push a whole lot of lies down our throats. And there's unfortunately way too many people buying into this. So we're going to cover a bunch of things tonight. I do want to tell you, tomorrow, I was actually just a little while ago, I was asked to guest host for Liz Wheeler tomorrow. So I will be doing that. Looking forward to that. Unfortunately, Liz is sick, so I will be hosting her show tomorrow, and we might as well get warmed up tonight. But there's a few things I want to share with you guys before we get too deep into this. Let's see. Which one of these screens do I want to share with you first? Not that one. This one right here. And I'm so pissed off that I'm almost forgetting to do all the things that I'm supposed to do. And that is, number one, make sure you like, subscribe. If you support what we do and you want to support this channel, down in the description below, there are links where you can become a member. Also on our X. If you're not following us on X, you need to. Also, you can support us that way. You can become a subscriber on that as well. I still owe everybody out there a members only live stream. We will definitely do this week or into the weekend. I promise you we'll get that done. So anything that you guys want to talk about during that members only live streams, you guys pull it out. I don't care if it's guns, gear, training. I don't care if it's politics or Candace Owens or whatever else. You guys are going to lead that. The other thing that I'm going to do, I kind of played around with it last time. I'm going to start throwing up a guest link in our members only, and I'm going to give people 5 minutes or so. If you want to jump on, you got 5 minutes. We can talk about whatever you want face to face. And I think that'll be fun. It was fun last time. I didn't really have a good system for it. I think that's the way to go. You get 5 minutes. Come on, talk about whatever you want. But folks, I want you to jump in right here, and I want you to see what's happening in this tweet that I sent out. Retweeting someone that was commenting down in my on one of my tweets. But first of all, I want you to look at right here. This is Johan von Senwar. I have no idea where he's at. It really doesn't matter. And I know, and we can even look at his profile. Matter of fact, let's do that real quick. All right. So he has almost 1,400 followers. I'm assuming this guy is not American. Surprise, surprise. The account's based in Korea. And we're going to talk a little bit more about parts of the psyop that's taking place and the fact that this has been so effective. But I want you to read what he's saying. By now, everyone acknowledges that Israel murdered Charlie Kirk and that Erika had foreknowledge at the very least. The only remaining question is the degree to which she was involved. There's a reason we call her the White OJ. And it would be one thing if it was just this one person out there. Folks, there are millions of people that actually believe that. Whether they want to voice that or not, they have been convinced 100% with zero evidence that TPUSA and or Erika Kirk herself has been involved in this. And that's the insane part about all of this stuff. I want you to see my response, and then we're going to go through some of the comments. I want to show you a couple of things that are happening down in the comments of all this stuff. And this is most prevalent on X for sure. We see a lot of this going on in YouTube just as much, but I want to show you a few things. But again, I just quoted him there. Folks, do you see the PSYOP, the information operation taking place in front of your face? If you repeat a lie enough, it will be accepted as fact. Millions believe this as fact, despite zero evidence supporting and voluminous evidence that a leftist trans activist named Tyler Robinson is the murderer. This is why you can't let lies and false narratives go unopposed. If this unsophisticated operation can fool millions, imagine what a more convincing one could achieve. And folks, I'm seeing this again all over X, some of these prominent accounts that are going out there and say, just ignore Candace. You're just feeding into what she's saying. They're not telling me, they're putting that out there to their followers. Folks, that is the last thing that you can do. We have to push back on this. You have to stand up. The only way to end a false narrative is to be as forceful as they are with the truth, because that is what has allowed her to get to the point to where we're at, where she's now calling Erika Kirk a pedophile, and we're going to go through some of those things as well. That's what she has now resorted to. We have moved on from the idea of Candace at all trying to figure out what's happening with the actual murder of Charlie Kirk. That's now established fact that Erika Kirk, TPUSA, somehow the French, somehow Israel, and it was all planned down at Fort Huachuca. Those are established facts at this point, even though there's zero evidence, and we have literally hundreds of terabytes of other evidence that would point to the opposite of that. And all but proves, even the information that we have when it comes to Tyler Robinson, we have so much evidence that we know about, and we only know about probably less than 1% of what is actually available. And the evidence that will ultimately convict Tyler Robinson, and I hope he gets the death penalty. But the fact is so many of these large accounts, and quite frankly, so many of Charlie Kirk's friends have sat back and tried to ignore Candace Owens out of existence. Like that even makes sense whatsoever. Not only is she pushing all the information that she is, all the lies, all the slander, all the defamation, but then she has hundreds of surrogates that are pushing this as well. And each one of those surrogates has additional surrogates that are pushing this information. And now these lies have been accepted by so many as facts. And the real problem is there's a lot of people that aren't covering this or paying attention to this with any sort of detail. So all they're hearing is stuff on the periphery. I just heard someone very prominent put out some bad information that he has already accepted as fact, even though if I had 10 minutes with this person, who's a very intelligent person, go through the facts, like this isn't true. But these things have now been accepted. And in the court of public opinion, TPUSA, Erika is 100% guilty of Charlie Kirk's murder. And I don't know if anything else really matters. It's already been established that Tyler Robinson is the patsy. All of the evidence against him has been faked, even though that makes no sense whatsoever. It flies in the face of logic, but yet that is what's being accepted. I want to show you this other one right here. And then we're going to get to some other things. So Lisa, who Lisa knows 429, if you're on X, you need to be following her. She's also on TikTok. If you're not aware, there is this new thing going out where some texts have been shown from Erika Kirk to a 15-year-old. It is very clear, if you look at any of these texts with an open mind and you're objective whatsoever, that Erika Kirk is mentoring this person. And as you get into more of the details, as opposed to just one single screenshot, which, by the way, they edit most of the time so that you don't see the context of what's happening, it's an attempt to make, and what is being said is that Erika Kirk is grooming this lady, this young girl, for whatever reason. This girl is now 25 years old. And she has come out and said otherwise, that, you know what, Erika Kirk was just mentoring me. And there's a whole lot of evidence with this. But I want to play this clip real quick. It's 7 minutes long. It's worth listening to so that we can get some deeper context. And again, we're going to have Lisa on Friday and go through this entire new narrative that they're trying to push.
Did Erika Kirk groom a 15-year-old girl when she was 25? Things just got insanely interesting, and I just got a ton more information. So last night at about 11 o'clock in the evening, all of a sudden, I see a tweet go out from Candace Owens from the old Jillian account that says that the photo shoot has been scheduled for Friday. Now, I dug through this account, you guys, for 2 days, examining it, screenshotting it, all of the above. And that tweet did not exist. I went immediately to the 2014 Jillian account, and I immediately started noticing tons of tweets that were previously not there and were not available to the public. So what I believe happened is that Jillian regained access to this old account, and for whatever reason, she flipped everything on. So tweets that had previously been privatized, she has now made them public. So we have so much more to go through than what we previously were able to see. And the good news is it helps Erika Kirk. It does not help Candace Owens. In fact, it proves that Candace Owens lied. How do we know that these tweets were privated and are now being made public? So how I know this is because this right here is the infamous autocorrect Erika tweet that everybody was dissecting and freaking out about. The photo shoot comment is literally right above it. Every single person that was examining this account to destroy Erika Kirk, there's no way that they would have missed this. And then right above that is the photographer with his name linked to his Twitter account. Again, there's no way that people would have seen this and not seen all of that, myself included. When I was going through these accounts, these were not here previously. One of the things that I immediately noticed was that Candace on her show stated that Jillian had said that the photographer's name started with an R, but she couldn't remember his name. His name was Joe Alisa. Does not start with an R. She also stated that Jillian said that he was short, chubby, and unattractive. This is what Joe looks like. This is a screenshot of Joe, the photographer's X account, as I took it last night. This is the picture that he has posted. Again, could this be somebody else's photo that he's using? Sure, but that'd be kind of weird. As a photographer, you're trying to promote yourself. So, but not only that, I immediately noticed that he is reposting posts that have to do with Jesus and a quote from John MacArthur. Seems like the guy is a Christian. He also follows a lot of conservative accounts. And right there, he has his website linked. So I went to it. And I'm expecting, Candace made it sound like these people were trafficking young girls. They're going to be, this is going to be some salacious, modeling, scantily clad young girls. The guy does professional headshots and lifestyle photography. Very clean. Everybody's covered. Nothing inappropriate is being shown. So the day that Jillian announces the photo shoot being...
All right, I want to pause it right there, and we're going to address a couple of comments over in the chat. Yeah, not only is Candace completely evil, and that is, in my mind, pretty well established. Look, Candace is no longer the problem. Her followers are just as big as the problem, and they're just as evil. As a matter of fact, when Candace started trying to kind of roll back some of the stuff right after that meeting with Erika Kirk, it was her followers that pushed her to keep going. And somebody else said something along the lines of, I guess Candace didn't receive a cease and desist. She did. She did receive a cease and desist. And I hope to God that TPUSA understands the gravity of what's taking place and actually decides to sue. And maybe they're in the middle of getting ready to do that. And I think they probably are. But the fact is this has to stop. And this is the problem, is her followers. What we have are a bunch of moralists, completely evil people that are pushing this stuff because they think it's fun, they think it's interesting, they think it's entertainment, and it's become this murder mystery that these miserable people are now getting to participate in, and they don't like Erika, and they've bought into all of the things that are being said about Erika and TPUSA and everything else. Look, this is a psyop to completely trash Charlie's legacy and ultimately Charlie himself. And then it's still all linked to the Trump administration. And all of these same people are the ones trying to tell you that you shouldn't be going to vote, that the Trump administration was bad. We thought they were great, but they actually suck. And they want the left to win. Now, I don't know the motivation behind all of these people. When it comes to Candace herself, I don't think the only motivation is Candace. I don't think she cares. I don't think, like people keep saying that she's a liberal and is still a liberal. I don't think she has a single principle idea in her brain. I really don't. What she's always done is she has been a talking head to push certain points. She is a salesperson that is given a script. I don't care if it's by TPUSA. I don't care if it's by Daily Wire. She's given a script and she's good at delivering it. Now she's on her own and she's just doing her own selfish thing. And the fact is, and there was a new call, by the way, that came out. I may get to that. A call that was Candace Owens talking about Erika, and this was a long time ago, and ultimately Charlie as well. If you haven't heard about that on X, maybe worth going to listen to at some point. But the fact is this is a revenge tour for Candace for sure. That's the only thing that I feel 100% confident about. Now, I do think there is a psyop taking place, but I think these are outside people, foreigners, political adversaries that are hijacking what she's doing. They're boosting it. They're pushing bots. There's bots all through my X feed. There's bots all in YouTube. And I think half the views, half the retweets that she gets are these artificial pushes. Now, she could be directly involved with that. She may be aware of that. I don't know. But I think there are all the people that hate the Trump administration, that hate MAGA, that hate the conservative movement, are hijacking this, and they are taking advantage of what she's already doing. Now, all the other people, now there's lots of different, I've seen many of them mentioned over in the comments already. Most of these content creators, they see that this is extremely popular. What I don't know is if it is without a doubt organically popular. People are eating this stuff up. There's no doubt about it. But I still think part of this is an inorganic or artificial push by what's going on. Anyways, let's finish this video.
Booked is March 6th of 2014, and then she gives her shout out to Joe, the photographer. Okay. I also noticed something else that happened on March 6th. Jillian's mother surprises her with a nail appointment for them to go get their nails done. Seems to me like mommy knew that she had a photo shoot booked and wanted to take her daughter to get her nails done. On March 11th, we have Jillian getting a brand new dress to wear to this photo shoot. And on March 13th, we have her saying that she made a professional makeup appointment to get her makeup done. How many 15-year-olds do you know that don't have a driver's license, don't have a car, and are able to drive themselves to get their nails done, buy a new dress, and get their makeup professionally done? Also, how many 15-year-olds do you know that are going to be paying for all of that when Jillian doesn't have a job? Her mother absolutely knew about this photo shoot, which Candace claims that her mother did not know about it. Her mother absolutely knew about it and was actually paying for things to prepare for Jillian to go to this photo shoot. And exactly like stated, the next Friday on March 14th of 2014, we get this post from Jillian saying it's time, and she's in the exact dress that she had bought on the 11th. Now, I want you to notice something. She is completely covered from head to toe, by the way. This dress is the most modest, appropriate attire for a 15-year-old. It literally goes up to the neck. It's a high collar, long sleeved dress. Very appropriate for a 15-year-old. Now, Jillian gives us a play-by-play of this entire day. And when you open the tweet up, it will actually give you the exact date and timestamp. Now, X shows you the time zone of the.
All right. So what Lisa has demonstrated here is the fact that not only did Jillian's mother know about this, all right, because that is the false narrative that's being pushed, that all of this stuff was happening behind her parents' back, her mother's back. Now, what she's demonstrated is, number one, they prepped for this. They took her out of school for this, and she gives a lot more details and evidence to highlight this. The fact is that Erika did nothing wrong. The only thing that Erika did wrong in all of this was she misspelled a word, autocorrect a word, and then she went through and she tried to play it off. But to turn this into, hey, this Erika Kirk is grooming this woman and taking her into some sleazy photographer, it's just not true. And this is a desperate attempt. And here's the thing, it's like, it doesn't even have to make sense for these people anymore. And this goes back to how evil so many of her followers and so many people that are feeding into this actually are. This is a woman that has lost her husband. Her husband was brutally murdered in front of everybody, and they just don't care about facts whatsoever. Going back real quick to this tweet, I want to show a couple of things that are going on here. When we get down to the comments of these things, I want you all to see And this is just a small example of what's taking place here. Here we go. Occult Patriot. Paramount Tactical, you're the one committing a psyop, telling everyone who's investigating and covering the facts not to believe their lying eyes, while pushing a lone wolf shooter narrative with absolutely zero concrete evidence, confessions, faked FBI transcripts, assumptions, etc. The opposite obviously is true. And what's crazy is, like, I've went to UVU. I talked to people on the ground. I've talked to over a dozen eyewitnesses at this point, and every single one of them say the exact same thing. Every single one of them. Nobody there that I'm aware of believes this nonsense. At least the vast majority of people that were there don't believe this stuff. And here's the crazy thing: when you get these people on, you get eyewitnesses on to interview them, and folks, you can go look at the comments under my Andrew Faraci interview and look at the people saying that guy is fake, he's a paid shill, he's this, he's FBI, he's Israel, all of these things. They'll do anything they can to dismiss actual evidence, actual eyewitnesses, while they accept zero evidence. Zero evidence. We have zero evidence of Israel involvement, other than some texts. Like, you have to read, you have to make so many assumptions, even from the text that Charlie Kirk said, hey, I'm trying to get away from the Israeli, he was having issues with donors. And there was definitely some political disagreements that he had with the Netanyahu government. Those are all true. But there is nothing in there that indicates that would even make sense that Israel would come and now assassinate Charlie Kirk over all that. None of that makes sense whatsoever. And yet that's what they're pushing. And they will not accept any of the actual hard evidence, the DNA evidence, the photo evidence, the fact that his parents turned him in, the fact that his parents have never come out and said, hey, you know what? My son is not guilty of those things. They will accept none of that. But all Candace has to do is say a picture's been moved. A picture's been moved, and then from there, she assumes they had a fight. From there, they assume from a fight that Erika Kirk is now guilty of killing Charlie Kirk. It makes zero sense, and that is the problem. These people here in the United States, they don't even understand how the basics of civics here in the United States. They don't understand how a trial works. They don't understand how an investigation works. They've watched one episode of CSI. Now they know everything. They're lawyers. Like, you can have actual lawyers on here. Andrea Burkhardt, I've had her on, and you'll go look at the comments. They're laughable. They're absolutely insane. Like, oh, this lady doesn't know what she's talking about. You know, she doesn't know anything about evidence. And, like, I don't know what to do with these people. And these are the people that are pushing this stuff, and they refuse to listen to logic, common sense, facts, evidence, or anything else. And it's nuts. Look, I do want to talk a little bit about, I'm going to play this. This was a space held today. And one of the speakers is Ryan Fournier. He has been deeply involved. Well, you know, I'm just going to let him tell you who he is, and let's take a look.
It's a good idea to get a dishonorable discharge.
You know, no, Candace Owens and I will be very upfront about this, and this is the first time I've actually spoken on it, so this is probably going to be recorded and put in a Daily Beast article tomorrow.
Oh,
but
you know
I
it,
was
Ryan.
I was with Charlie Kirk when Candace Owens and I met Candace Owens at the Trump International Hotel, first time that he met her as well. She had a YouTube channel. She was doing decent views. She was in the accounting field. And so Charlie brought Candace on Turning Point USA. We made her a comms director.
I said it was Ben Shapiro. It was Charlie that started that brought her on.
Yes. Yes. And so Charlie brought her on, and I was around at the time. She pissed off a lot of people on the board of directors, especially Bill Montgomery, who was the one who started Turning Point basically with his donation. Charlie met him, I think, at the RNC back in, wasn't 2016, it was the cycle before. But he met him there. Bill Montgomery was basically the head of the board. And unfortunately, Bill passed from COVID in 2020. And nobody on the board of directors like Candace Owens. She was forced out of Turning Point USA because she is a cunt. She is an now let me just say this, and I want this on the record. She is a disgusting fucking human being. She has no personality whatsoever. She is a nasty character. And I have nothing but disregard for her because everybody who gave her something, she took it away. She stepped on our backs to gain fame. She is a lying, phony bitch, and I want nothing to do with her. And I don't want anybody in this movement to associate with her because I can't stand her.
Well,
And I will tell her to her face on a live interview if I have to. Fuck you.
well, I like
You
that.
entitled
Well,
cunt.
I like that. And just so you know, Ryan, I have given her a new name after her recent comments. She is not Candace anymore. It's Candy. We're just calling her Candy from now on. She's a two-bit.
Well,
she's a
her
two-bit
and her,
person.
her and her little husband took over Parlor, and they're so fucking retarded, fucked Parlor over that they didn't even know how to do coding to get rid of metadata on photos, which is why everybody was persecuted who posted photos on Parlor, because the FBI took the metadata after they had a subpoena of every photo taken on every location there that was posted to that app. So you can thank Candace Owens and her little cunt fucking London husband.
Wow.
Fuck them.
Well,
Was that intentional?
And that's not even mentioning their relationship with Andrew Tate.
well, let's go back into the idea here.
Well,
So that
please, let's
means
not
that
go into Andrew Tate.
All right, so that was just a moment of that space. You guys can go check that out. And that is somebody that knows her and has known her for a long time. Now, in just a second, we're going to go through some of the portions of Graham Allen and what he had to say. And I know many of you have probably already heard some of this, but we're going to go through this. I think it's worth mentioning. Now, Graham Allen is someone that has been associated with TPUSA and has known Candace Owens. And again, he's going to talk about his long relationship with her. Now, I am so glad to see that people like Graham Allen are actually coming out and speaking out against her. And I'm tempted to say, thanks for joining the party. All right. Because there's been a lot of people like me and many other people, Bronson in the chat, Gray Hughes, lots of folks, Lisa, a lot of people that I'm missing. I get it. That have been out there that are these small accounts that are out there bringing the truth at a huge detriment to them. Look, the amount of slanderous, nonsensical lies that have been put out about me and many of these other people, the arrows that we've taken, and I don't care. We can continue to take them. You can destroy my YouTube channel, whatever else. It's worth it, because what is happening here is a real threat to this country. If people will believe this bullshit, folks, we are screwed. We are screwed. And this is not sophisticated. This is not that hard to see through. You would think that normal logic, reason, and common sense would prevail. But for whatever reason, it's been 10 times more successful than I ever thought it would be. And it has to be the individuals out there like you that are supporting other people that are speaking out against this, because that's what's happening, right? This is this murder mystery. Everybody's entertained by this, even if you don't necessarily, and I see this all the time. Like, I don't really think that Candace is telling the truth, but I'm watching her because the whole thing's so entertaining. Well, it matters. It matters. And like, these are not just some, it's not just some weird conspiracy theory like, oh, I think the government or they did something. These are accusations of murder, conspiracy, betrayal of the country, and so much more that are being directed to individuals. And there's real consequences. There's real consequences. And I'm afraid that somebody like, whether it be Andrew Colvett or Erika Kirk or some of these other people that are being accused of this stuff are going to end up getting killed. And that's like, and they don't care. They don't even care if that happens. They don't care in the least. This really does remind me, let me make me big here for a minute. The more I look at this, the more I'm reminded of all the misinformation and the information operations that were being levied against Trump toward the end of his first term. And it went, they were going after them legally. They were saying that he was a crook. They were saying, attacking his character, saying that he was a rapist, that he was a PDF. They're saying that now. Again, it's all starting over again. And this is the exact same tactics, techniques that are being used against TPUSA, that are being used against Erika, and people just won't see through it. They won't see through it. Like, it's nuts to me, because some of these people think that, hey, it's fun, it's entertaining, they think it's like not a big deal at all. And they want to be a part of this. And then, of course, there's all the other weirdos out there that are just bored. So now they get to be this internet sleuth to go on and like, oh, I found this. Oh, look at this. And it's fun. It's engaging. All right. What we're doing here is not popular. But it's the truth, and it's super important. And for those of you out there that understand how serious this really is and the impact that it's going to have on society, when we start allowing the idea that people are guilty with zero evidence, and we have turned our entire ideology, the principles on which this country was founded, is that you're innocent until proven guilty. We turn that on its head, and it's like, no, you have to prove. I can levy any sort of accusations at you or anyone else that I want to. I can make up whole cloth all of these different crazy things, and all I need you to do is to prove your innocence. Folks, it's insane. And as Americans, we cannot let it stand. We cannot sit here silent on our hands doing nothing. And again, I encourage anybody out there that's watching this now or in the future, like, you got to go out there, you got to start pushing back and start calling out evil for what it is. This is one of the most evil, disgusting things that I've ever seen take place. And I could just sit back and go about doing my business, go back to doing gun content, and everything would be just fine. And I hear that's the big thing that all these people, all these bots are saying down in, like, you were so much better. Like, I'd start watching you again if you're just doing gun content. Like, I've never seen you before, never heard about you. I look at your profile on whether it be X or I look on YouTube. This is the first comment that you made. You just made your account last week. Like, you are part of something that's taking place. And the problem is this stuff is very difficult to prove. All you can do is sit back and look at the circumstantial evidence and say, like, none of this makes sense. It doesn't make sense that so many people would say so many crazy things, and I have 15 bots in my chat saying the exact same tropes over and over and over again. I see we got a couple super chats. Again, I will prioritize super chats, and we got a couple of new members and some other stuff. Let me go ahead and hit those before we get deeper into this. First of all, Nick367, thank you for becoming a member. We appreciate you. Dr. Altoids. Small accounts have been pushing back for 5 months. This isn't moving the needle. Prominent conservative voices need to step up, and we need to stop giving them money, following them, etc., until they do. I agree with that. Like, we need a lot. And look, for the same reason that all of these different creators are jumping on the Candace bandwagon, because it's popular and they can just push this stuff and they're going to get likes, clicks, because people are buying into it. And I think they are also riding the wave of an inorganic push by whoever, probably multiple entities, probably political entities out there, George Soros types, but probably also a lot of other different countries that don't like the Trump administration, understand that these are going to have real impacts. Everything that's being said about all of this is going to have real impacts on the midterms and ultimately 2028. So there's lots of motivation. There's lots of good reason and incentive to do this. Now, what he's saying is, like, we need the reverse effect. And what I've heard a lot and wondered myself, like, why are these bigger accounts that were Charlie's friends, that I know don't believe this, that are some of these large, like Benny Johnson and many others, that haven't spoken out? And Graham Allen, why did it take till now that Graham Allen basically sat back and let all this stuff happen? And so much was said to the point that we're at. And the reason for that is they know they're going to be attacked. They know they're going to lose followers. Same thing. Like, I don't know what the motivation or what's going on inside Megyn Kelly's brain. We can speculate that all day, but she hasn't said anything about it. And one of the biggest reasons, I believe, is because she knows she has so many crossover subscribers, viewers. She's going to be negatively impacted. And they don't want to, because this is their livelihood. That's all that matters to them. So they'd rather just sit there on their hands and stay quiet so that they don't have to risk anything. They may not jump on the Candace bandwagon, but they don't have to risk anything by speaking out against her and the things that she is saying. And it's a shame that it's taken this long for some of these other accounts. I am seeing more and more of it on X. Some of these larger accounts are speaking out, and big props to a few of them out there. Again, all the ones that I've mentioned already, but I know like Chicks on the Right has been out there constantly talking about this, and there's many more that I'm sure I'm forgetting. Ruger Rouge, George is the brain behind Candace trying to take over for him. I don't know. Maybe you're right. I kind of think that he's not, to be honest with you. And again, pure speculation, just looking at what's going on. I think, I don't know that this looks well on him and he's going to get dragged through the mud in this. I'm not sure he's the type of personality. I think basically that Candy is doing this on her own. Now, what I do think, I think whoever is producing for her, apparently she has 4 producers. I know George is one of them. I don't know if that's counted in that 4, but the way that her scripts are written, there's somebody that is much more sophisticated writing her shows, that are producing for her, that are presenting information in an extremely formulaic way that makes it much more convincing. By the way, figured I'd go ahead and extend the offer. I've been saying I'm going to have Bronson on for quite a while, and I haven't. So I threw him a guest link. Bronson, thanks for coming on, buddy. Can you hear me? Bronson, are you there? Can you hear me?
Glad to be here, Gary.
All right, buddy. Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay?
Not really.
Let me see if there's anything on my end. Everything on my end looks good. I don't know why you wouldn't be able to hear me. Let me see here. Yeah, I think all my settings are good. There may be something on your end, bud. I don't know if you can play around with those settings. I'm going to bring you back on in just a moment. Yeah, so I'm not 100% sure what's going on with George. Don't know what's happening there. Gary, have you tried eating the Fed slop yet? LOL. Yeah, I am all over the Fed slop. I'll take the Fed slop over the candy wine slop any day of the week. Call her Candace Fallacy Owens. She's 90% fallacy. I don't disagree with that at all. I'm gonna check on Bronson one more time. Bronson, can you hear me? Bronson, can you hear me? All right, he's logging off and coming back in. See if we can get that fixed. Song Sparrow, thank you for becoming a member. Song Sparrow gifted 5 Paramount Tactical memberships to people out there. So that's awesome. Jacked may have been one of those, Jackied 6408 may have been one of those recipients. Anna says, thanks for sharing the truth, Gary. You're welcome. Shell says, I think Candy will spill all the dirt on George if he leaves her. I 100% agree with that. Couldn't agree more. We'll get a couple of live comments while we're here. Gary, I appreciate you, bro, but you seem flustered. I am a little flustered. I'm a little frustrated and disappointed. I'm disappointed in my fellow Americans. And Bronson, if you can still hear me, if you're on the thing, try coming back in and see if that works, Ben. It's not character assassination if it's the truth. Speaking of assassination, what's taking the French Foreign Legion so long? Weren't they after your cult leader? Where'd they go? I think Jay Byrne has probably already been ex-nate on the open stay and kicked out of here. That is absolutely true. So first and foremost, what I will say that I've tried to do from the very beginning is attack Candace on the merits of her statements and her arguments. I do think she's evil, and that may venture into, I don't know, name calling, whatever else you want, but we have the evidence to back that up. What they have is a bunch of, I don't know, subjective views of Erika and saying, oh, she's acts weird, she is suspicious, she's done this or she's done that. And look, you can criticize Erika for her stage presence or her ability to speak or what. Look, no one is going to replace Charlie. No one's going to come close to replacing Charlie. I think we can all accept that and be able to move on to that. Now, you could even criticize Erika and say, hey, you know what? She's taking the company in a new direction. I disagree with that completely. I disagree with that, but that's fine if that's your argument. You can sit there and say that, Erika is taken in a direction that Charlie, that's cool. All right. But then to go back to and say she was responsible for killing him when she has zero motive to do so. I bet she was 10 times happier. She's taken care of. She's wealthy. Like, she wanted for nothing. I don't think for a second that she wanted to become the CEO of TPUSA. I don't think that for a second. All right, let's see if we can get Bronson. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
All right, we are freaking live action now. Thanks for coming on, man. Like I said, it's been too long since you've been on, and I saw you in the chat. Been meaning to get you on. It's just been one thing after another, but thanks for jumping in here in short notice. I appreciate it.
Have I missed the Graham stuff yet?
You didn't miss. Nope, we haven't hit that at all yet.
Okay.
Speaking of somebody that's been out speaking the truth, and I had Sarcastic Liberty on. We need to have her on again too. She's been out there running rampant, spreading the truth, fighting against all of the hearsay, the BS, the lies, the false narratives. Sarcastic Liberty is not on our watch. We will take arrows for Erika, TPUSA, Charlie, and the truth. And that is what's important, folks, the truth. Like, I don't care if the exact same thing was happening against one of my enemies, somebody that I feel politically opposed to, for instance. If I thought BS was taking place, the same thing was taking place against, I don't name a Democrat, doesn't matter. I would be out there and be like, no, this doesn't make sense whatsoever. And here's why. Because the truth matters. We need to be able to set aside politics. We need to be able to set aside all that nonsense and say, you know what? The truth matters. And the truth matters a lot. What's your thoughts, Bronson?
On truth? Yeah, I'd say truth is pretty important.
On all of
it. Definitely worth taking some arrows for.
Yeah. Nope, 100%. Let me take a couple more quick lives, and then we're going to go over to Graham a little bit. Completely agree. We need to not even engage on their stuff. Screenshot and share that way, but give them zero engagement. I'm not exactly sure how I feel about that. I think we need to be down there in the comments. And the reason that they're in our comments talking shit and pushing back against us is because I think they know that that is effective and it brings more. I understand what she's saying. I don't know. We need someone to dig into some real analytics and see what works and see what doesn't. But
I disagree. I think we need pushback. We need a ton of pushback.
Yeah, 100%. In their comments and everywhere else. Like, look, they're getting engagement no matter what. So, like, a couple of us get in there and saying, hey, this isn't true, and actually holding their feet to the fire, or saying the truth and be like, know what? You're just a grifting piece of shit. Like, I think that is important to do at a minimum. And again, however else that you can go about that, however you decide is the most effective way to push against and provide a counter narrative of truth, I think it's important to do it. Whether you start creating content, however you do it, like, jump in, figure out a way to do it. I don't know. Share our content. Whatever works. All right. So here's what we're going to do now. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to pull on this on the Graham Allen show. Let me jump right here. There we go. And let's hear what he has to say about this as someone that has known Candace for a really long time and is very close to Charlie Kirk, TPUSA, and everything else. We'll give us some volume here.
Reports that X is down. Unfortunate timing given today's show. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different. Friday afternoon, many of you know that I have been a very outspoken person against Candace Owens and what she's doing, not only to Charlie, to his legacy, to his children, but even more especially so to Erika, his widow. I believe her intentions to be non-pure. I believe her reasonings to be evil. I believe that she's suffering from some type of mental break, possibly even demonic oppression of some sorts. But anyway, Friday afternoon, conveniently, I would say, because she's going on this break this week, to make another hit piece documentary on Erika Kirk, she decided to take things up a notch with me publicly. And she made several horrific, ghastly accusations about me. And these accusations not only affect me and my reputation and my character, it affects my family, it affects my
All right, so the big push against everybody that is now speaking out against Candace is they are PDFs. That's what's being said. And real quick, I just want to jump over to here and show you what is being said about Erika real quick so you can see this. So this is Project Constitution, one of the biggest grifters, one of the biggest liars on the face of the planet. And he says, I'm sorry, but this is not normal behavior for an adult. Erika Kirk was clearly grooming underage girls, in my opinion. Here is yet another example of her being a pervert. And here she is kissing this young girl. This is her niece. This is her niece. And this is the actual photo. This is the actual photo of her niece. And this guy knows it 100%. But he doesn't care how untrue this is. He doesn't care that he is intentionally slandering somebody. This is what they're going with. And when they have to lie the way that he has to lie, the way that Baron Coleman has to lie to make things up, the way that Candace Owens has to lie, the way that all of these people pushing this stuff, the amount of information that they have to completely omit and then completely fabricate and lie to get you to believe something that's not true. It just shows you how dishonest and disgusting they actually are. But I digress. Let's get back to this.
children. And that simply cannot stand. So I did a lot of praying about it. I did a lot of thinking about it. And the only way to do this is to confront it head on. And the only way to do this is to say that it is time. X is back up, apparently. Just got a message that it is time to tell the truth about Candace Owens. It's time to no longer beat around the bush. It's time to tell the truth. Everything that I know. There's going to be a lot of you today that watch this episode, that many of you are finding out who I am for the first time due to what Candace did and her bringing me into these slanderous accusations and all this, and that's fine. So we're going to walk you through not only the accusations, we're going to walk you through how I've known Candace for over a decade. And I know the truth about everything behind closed doors that we're never actually supposed to have said about Candace Owens, and I'm over it. And it's time that people know the truth. And it also is not lost on me that the Canaanites, the cult followers of Candace Owens, nothing I say is going to change your mind. And that's fine. Why am I doing this? Because there's a lot of people that I have shared the stage with, that I have fought for this country and our faith for a decade, that have remained silent. While Erika is attacked, while Charlie's children are attacked, while this woman tries to single-handedly tear down everything that my friend Charlie stood for, you remain silent in cowardice. And that's okay, I understand. Because as we'll show the audience here in a minute, this is why you're afraid. And maybe some of you have skeletons that you don't want Candace Owens to find out about. Okay, fine. If I got to take the bullets, I will. If this ends my career, then so be it. But if it sparks others to start combating her obvious vindictive, evil agenda and her obvious lies, then it was well worth it. I need every single one of you to do me a favor and hit that like button right now. The more you hit the like button, the more people will see this. Comment in the comment section right now. Do you stand with Candace? And that's fine. You can put yes or no in the comment section. I'm sure we'll have a lot of Candace fans in this episode today, and that's fine. But we have a lot of stuff to talk about, and
I would encourage each and every one of you to do the exact same thing. If you stand with Candace, put that down in the comments below. Make sure you like, subscribe here on our channel. Also, if you stand with Erika, if you stand with TPUSA, if you stand with the truth, put that down in the comments too, because we've had enough of this.
not very long to do it. So I want to thank our sponsors, Black Rifle Coffee. We wouldn't be able to do this show without you guys. So I want to different because I don't want to
just first say that I do appreciate, even though I'm not worried about any kind of backlash from this Peckerwood and her little people, I could care less. Everything about me that's bad, everybody knows anyway. Live in a small town. But to Candace and to the Canaanites and Candyland and everybody involved with this particular topic about coming after Graham and saying the things that you have said, I'm just going to tell you like I used to tell my children, Candace, spit it out. Okay, spit it out. This is not the bowl you want to stick your face in. This ain't the meal that you want to take a bite out of. You need to spit it out. You have literally become everything about the left that you've hated for so long and that I hate. You change the narrative. You have millions of theories without any facts behind it. And anybody, and now more so, anybody that confronts you, that asks you questions, that asks for proof, now you're throwing around pedophilia like you're calling somebody an asshole. Like that's the same thing. All right, that's not okay. And I'm not going to stand up here and defend Graham about being a pedophile or not. That's stupid. Okay, you said it because you want clicks, and you are to Catholicism as I am to being a Sunni or a Shiite. All right, that is the thing. You are not a Christian. Christians don't do this. You're not a Catholic. Catholics don't do this. You are an evil demon. And I hope for the rest of the show that Graham treats you as such. Okay, I'm done.
Okay. All right. So we're going to go to me for the rest of the show. I apologize about that. X is back up. We were putting the link for her Canaanites to be able to come in here and say what they have to say. So one thing I want to start off with before we talk about what happened, and then I want to address those head on. I want to talk about some things that happened yesterday. Yesterday, I made an announcement on X that I would be addressing everything. And I got more phone calls, more text messages, more calls from members of the administration, more calls from people in high welcome prayer, evil, vindictive attacks against Erika Kirk, Charlie Kirk's widow, and even Charlie's kids. Pastors feel led to pray for me before I even do my show, which I do daily. Does that seem normal to you? Does that seem like a simple thing that everybody does that? No, it shows you that this has reached a level no one can comprehend. So I want to say a couple Bible verses before we start this. Proverbs 68:5. Father to the fatherless, defender of the widows. This is God in his holy dwelling. Everybody keeps asking why I stand so firm in this. Well, because I believe the Bible to be true. And the Bible is very specific about the treatment of widows, about the treatment of orphans. Exodus 22 through 24. Do not take advantage of the widow or the fatherless. If you do, and they cry out to me, I will certainly hear their cry. And then James 3:14 through 16. But if you have bitter jealousy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast and be false to the truth. This is not the wisdom that comes down from above, but is earthly, unspiritual, and demonic. For where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there will be disorder and every vile practice. Candace Owens, as I move forward in this, I want to say that above anything and everything. I truly mean it when I say I'm praying for your soul. I make a joke sometimes when I say I wouldn't want to be the person standing in line behind Candace Owens at the pearly gate. But I honestly.
All right, we got a few more super chats. I'm going to go ahead and play those real quick. Ginger Puff says, I don't understand how Candace gets away with what she's doing. She's trying to stamp out the truth and stamp out the true and beautiful that Erika Kirk and TPUSA are. Look, the reason that they are getting away with, she's getting away with what she's doing, as well as all her other surrogates and simps and everything else, is because, let me tell you something, folks. Defamation suits are not fun. You don't know how they're going to turn out. A large company like TPUSA, for instance, yeah, they're going to get discovery of everybody's emails, everything that was ever said, and there are things I'm sure in there that can be used against them. They're not relative or material to what we're actually talking about. They can be used. Now, again, I'd like to ask somebody like Andrea Burkhardt or some other lawyers what the scope of that actually would be. And then on top of that, what we need to know is, like, are they allowed to use that stuff to continue to defame somebody even though they're being defamed? And ultimately, I think the answer is yes, they can, right? What they're going to do, look, there's a bunch of emails going around TPUSA that people, even within the company, that are just in the company, like they're not in executive or leadership positions, you know, probably talking a lot of crap about Candace and probably some really bad stuff in there. Like people do at a large corporation. So they're going to try to use some of that. But on top of that, look, a defamation suit for a company as big as TPUSA, you're probably talking 3 to 5 years, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. And I think they were hoping that this would just kind of go away, would die down, and it would, you know, they didn't want to divert a bunch of resources, time, energy into doing all this. And I think they're past a point to where I think it would be really smart for them to do so. I think the juice is worth the squeeze at this point, because I do think that Candace is being more effective than any of us ever realized. What's your thoughts on that, Bronson?
I don't know if they could even complete like a defamation suit without there being some type of outcome in what happened to Charlie. I think that would need to complete first, because the main accusation is that she wasn't. I mean, now they have the PDF file stuff, but the main accusation is that her and TPUSA or people in TPUSA are somehow involved in what's going on and what happened with Charlie. And until there's some type of conclusion to that case, I don't even know if they could pursue a defamation yet.
Well, I think I would push back on that just a little bit. You're probably right. They may be trying to wait until after. It definitely gives them a stronger case for sure. But I think they could go in front of a judge and or ultimately a jury and say, like, okay, present some sort of evidence. Because let's say it was something else completely. If you were being defamed and somebody's saying you did X, Y, and Z, if they can't produce the evidence to say that that's true, and we know that Candace can't produce the evidence to say that TPUSA and or Erika Kirk were involved in the death of Charlie Kirk or the murder of Charlie Kirk, because if she could do that, she would have done that a long time ago. All she has is a bunch of slander and speculation and, you know, Fort Huachuca, this, the French Foreign Legion, all this nonsense, which she has no evidence of. So I do agree that might be part of their calculus, that they're waiting, because I do think that makes a stronger case for them, because basically you're going to have a bunch of investigators prove that Tyler Robinson was indeed the person that killed Charlie Kirk. I don't know if that is an end-all be-all, though. If that makes sense.
You could be right.
Philip Escobar says Candace cannot read. Thanks for the content. She definitely can't pronounce most words. That's for sure. Gary, my brother, 160 in the house. Rockasans. I was flying a Bell 429 today at work and saw a cloud. I think it was Seated to Rain, Mind Control Rain by Candace. Her mindset is dumb. Yeah, and as well as her followers. Pat Brooks, thank you for the super chat. Truth, number one, and Erika and her children. I agree. Like, what is being done to her kids too, and the fact that Candace is constantly bringing up Gigi. in this attack against her family and an attack against the legacy of Gigi's father is unconscionable. I don't know how, again, I don't know how anybody can sit there and listen to Candace and watch what she says and not feel guilt and shame. It really does surprise me. Graham been calling Candace Owens out for months. I watch him daily. He has taken a lot of crap for it too. You said he is just now speaking. That's false. Fair enough. I'll be honest with you. I haven't seen him. And I think I followed him for a long time. That's fair. If I am mischaracterizing the fact that he has been calling her out for a long time, I stand corrected. But
hold on just a second. I want to respond to that. Doesn't Graham claim to have been pretty close to Charlie, right?
Mm-hmm. They definitely were.
How is he not the loudest voice right now speaking out against this? Or how has he not been the loudest voice speaking out against this since the end of September?
Yeah. Again,
crazy.
If he was, I have a hard time believing, as much as I've looked at it, and I could be completely wrong. Maybe he was just, look, I do think there is something too between the downvotes that a lot of these content creators that are opposing Candace, the downvotes they get, and them knowing how to manipulate the algorithm. It's possible. I don't know about you. Have you seen him until recently?
No. I went back through and watched some of his content. I know that he's talked about the subject. He has clips on YouTube from October, I believe, but I wouldn't say that he was like going hard in the paint against Candace. He was kind of wishy-washy, kind of reading where his chat was going to go, maybe kind of what his audience was feeling. He didn't give the response I would expect somebody who was close to Charlie would have given, who didn't have maybe skeletons in the closet, or who wasn't worried about maybe losing a payday or two. That's all I'm going to say.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm definitely going to investigate that a little bit further. I think that's worth highlighting. And again, what it does come down to is the fact that there have been people out there that have been extremely loud in all this. Myself, Bronson, many other folks out there that have been pushing back on this for a long time. And again, we've been taking all the slings and arrows when in reality, some of these much larger platforms should have been pushing the truth and put the truth above profits, above views, clicks, and popularity. And I haven't seen it, to be honest with you. So,
well, I want to reference an example. So if you guys remember, I don't remember what month this was, when Tim Pool basically went crazy and called her a bunch of bad names. That clip went viral for days.
Yeah.
Where's Graham's viral videos of him calling her out?
He
was a big name. He's been on Tim Pool's show quite a few times over the last 4 or 5 months. Where's his clip?
Yeah. I mean, it's a great question. That was back in December. I think that was early December. And, to Tim Pool's credit, I don't agree with Tim Pool on a lot of things. But to Tim Pool's credit, he's been pushing back on this. And look, that's the thing, is like, you don't have to agree with TPUSA. All you got to do is have a conscience to know what's right and wrong. It's like, hey, we don't do this in the United States. We don't accuse people of unbelievable crimes without a lick of evidence. And on top of that, and this is the thing that we got away from the mainstream media. This was the accusation that we had against them. Like, they're constantly coming up with these crazy stories using anonymous sources. That's all Candace has ever done. She's provided zero evidence of one single material claim that she's made. A single material claim. She can't do it.
Another quick point. Graham even says in this video that we just watched, now it's time for the truth to come out. Now it's time. Well, if he's been pushing against her and calling her out, why didn't he bring this truth out months ago? Why is now
that's
the
one of the
time?
things I was going to say, like, why all of a sudden is this video suddenly so popular? Why is this so ground shattering? Because now he's speaking out. Like, if he'd been speaking out, if this was just like his everyday thing that he was talking about, or his normal talking points that he's been talking about, why is this video such a big deal?
Well, that's just it. What's he been holding back?
Yeah. I don't know.
And
We're going to
why?
find out.
Honestly say this when I say I'm praying for your soul, Candace, because we go way back. And we'll go there. I've got a book here that I wrote. And no, it's not a pitch for the book. I don't want you to go buy this book. This is my first book. I've written one since then. I've got another one coming out in September. That's not the point. The point is, on the back of books, you have these things called blurbs. And this book came out in 2020, and I just want to read you something here. And it says, Graham Allen is an inspiring voice amongst a generation that has been misguided by the far left ideologies. He is a patriot, a husband, a father, and most importantly, a fighter that I am glad to call a personal friend. America 316 accomplishes exactly what Graham's speciality is, and that's reaching real America. Candace Owens. So for the new people in the audience watching this for the first time that you've never heard of me before, that's fine. But I want to paint a picture here of how far back me and Candace go. So I'm going to show you a couple pictures really quick, and then we're going to get into her allegations online. I'm going to address them head on, and then I'm going to tell you the truth about Candace. All right, so we've got some photos here that I just want to show you because there's a lot of people that will watch this. This will get edited, and this will be clipped, and this will be done. And we'll probably go back to this photo a little later, but this shows how far back in the day me and Charlie and Brandon Tatum go. In fact, this next one is a photo of me, Charlie, Brandon Tatum, Benny Johnson, all sitting together at a table before we all blew up to an extent that you know us now. I think we've got that one, Todd. If we can do that, we need to switch to the one of me and all of us sitting at the table. There you go. This was way back in the day. We all knew each other across the board. Now, Candace, me and Candace have known each other for a long time. This photo is back in the 3 Barstool days of the campus tours. There's Charlie, there's me, there's Candace. Back in the day when these tours weren't as popular as they are today, we were sitting in bar stools together and we were fighting this fight alongside each other. Here's some more pictures of Candace Owens with some of my children, with my wife. There's Candace, me, and my wife with my daughter. Here's another one of me and Candace and my wife. And then here's one of me, Charlie, Erika, and my wife together. So when I say all of these things that I've known Candace Owens for well over a decade, I'm telling you the truth. And when I say that Candace Owens is not who you think that she is, that's what I mean. Well, let's go to what happened, because there's a lot of you here on Rumble. There's a lot of you that are probably confused to an extent of what happened and actually went on. So let's start off with playing the video that started this escalation. Now, the main purpose of this video was to say why I continue to defend Erika Kirk. And it was also to call out those that have been cowardice and not. I think we got to go to TikTok because I think X is still down. I think X went back down again. But here is the video. And I want to play the video in its context so you can see how Candace Owens' attack doesn't make any sense. Here's the video that started it all. Here we go. Everybody always goes, "Oh, Graham, why Candace Owens? Why?" Because she's still doing it and she's still crossing the line with my friend's widow. And maybe you're the type of person that you will allow a friend of yours, their widow.
Truth Rising, I told you last week, send me an email to dlpodcast@paramountTactical.com, dlpodcast@paramountTactical.com, and I will look up your account and I will decide whether or not I blocked you intentionally or by accident, because that does happen sometimes. So anyways, I gave you that option last week or the last time I was live. That is your option. I will check it out. I haven't seen an email from you, so send me an email and we'll go from there, big guy or girl, whatever you are. I'm not sure what you are.
Oh, if they were to pass away, maybe you're the type of person that will not protect that widow. Maybe you're the type of person who would just move on. I'm not. I am not getting to heaven in the pearly gates and Jesus look at me and go, "Why didn't you stand up?"
Hey folks, this is true. All right, I'm going to give some of these people a little bit of leeway for this reason specifically. Paramedics says maybe some content creators are fearful for their families. The pushback they would receive speaking out against Candace, just a thought. Look, I have absolutely been the target for this. They doxed my address a couple days later. I had people that vandalized my property. This is a point of contention with my wife on this whole thing. And I think the threat is real. There's a lot of crazy people out there. We saw what happened to Tim Pool. By the way, what happened to Tim Pool, I think just a few days later happened to me. Again, I got doxxed like 2 days after my address was put out on the internet. Next thing you know, my property was vandalized. So it is a real concern. We've briefed our kids on this, by the way, and then I actually had to talk to my family that's out of town to make sure that they're aware of what's going on. So I get it. This is a real concern because there are people that are psychotic over this stuff that genuinely believe that TPUSA and, conspired with Israel or something to kill Charlie Kirk, and that anybody that's out there speaking against them are part of that and they consider them a threat and they're willing to do. And if you are that simple and you require zero evidence and you get enraged and you really think these people are guilty of what's being alleged without any evidence, you are mentally unstable. So this is a legitimate fear, and I completely get it.
I would ask, which creators does she mean? The ones who have built a platform calling out the violent radical leftists for the last decade? What would be different? Aren't they already afraid of them?
Well, I'll tell you, Bronson, I do believe that what we're dealing with is a much larger threat, or more of a imminent threat with the candy cult. I do believe that because I've been speaking politics on this channel for the last 5-6 years, and I've been harassed online by Antifa and things like that. I have never seen the level of vicious intent and coordinated attacks and very real planning, and again, just being targeted the way that I've seen with this. I think I can understand if they do believe that. They could be wrong on that, but I'll tell you. But what you're saying has some merit too, without a doubt.
There, not happening to me. Another thing I want to say to all of you friends of Charlie out there that have microphones just like I have, that came up with Charlie. Many of you I stood on stage with for many, many, many years. Where are you? Why aren't you saying anything? Why are you tiptoeing the lines to not make Candace Owens's audience mad at you, and or worse, Candace herself being mad at you? Perhaps you have skeletons in your closet. I don't know. But I want you to know that I respect none of you. And I will never, ever look at any of you the same again. Graham, who are you talking about? It's really easy to find. Look for any of the people that do what I do that are not absolutely 100% calling out Candace Owens. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about every
All right, you can pause it, Todd.
one of them. You don't have, okay, so if you agree with that.
Go ahead. Were you saying to pause it, Bronson?
Me? Nope.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I heard something. That's fine. We got another comment here I think is worth discussing anyhow. I agree. Being a Christian doesn't mean you can't speak up against evil. Being a Christian requires you to speak out against evil. It requires you to go out there and combat lies with the truth. That's what Charlie was all about. He was not saying to stay silent, but more importantly, that's what the Bible tells you to do. Like, you are a coward if you're sitting there and you're like, hey, you know what? I just want to, be a peacekeeper. I just want to let it all go. No, being a peacekeeper is not going out there and intentionally starting this stuff like someone like Candace Owens and causing problems and things like that. But when that is already taking place and when lies are happening, you have to speak out against it. You have to. That is your Christian duty. So that's not, saying I'm a Christian and falling back to the misunderstanding of being a peacekeeper. Being a peacekeeper requires you to speak the truth. That's what brings peace, is truth.
I haven't watched this yet. Have you watched this yet?
No, I have not.
Okay.
I've watched a couple of snippets from it, but I have not watched this at length.
Okay. I'm wondering if he names names. At this point, why not name names? Hold these
agree.
people accountable.
I agree. I don't know why. I mean, he's kind of talking about, out of both sides of his face right here, because, you know, he's saying, hey, don't be a coward and call her out. But at the same time, he's kind of not calling them out. And again, I don't want to be too critical of Graham. I appreciate that he's coming out and being forceful. And a lot of people over in the chat are saying that we're wrong, that he's been speaking out. That's fine. I'm going to explore that. And I'm okay with being wrong with that. So if I am mischaracterizing what he's done over the last 5.5 months, I apologize and will be happy to correct the record.
I feel like he's admitting just how not much he's been calling her out by saying in this video, now is time for the truth.
I feel the same way. I feel the same way. But again, I'll research this a little bit and I'll tell you my conclusion on the next live stream, which will be tomorrow, by the way.
Just give me some American flags in the comment section now, or hit the like button. That was the main purpose of that video. In fact, I would argue it was more of a direct attack on those that were being cowardice in the face of Candace Owens' attacks. Now, because X is down, we had to take a screenshot of what Candace Owens says. She said two things on Friday afternoon, and I want to address them. The worst one is obviously the one calling me a pedophile. So again, this is in response to the video you just saw. And Candace Owens' response is, keep your young kids away from Graham Allen. No joke. My belief is that no man is capable of defending stuff like this that isn't himself perverted. But yet, you defended Andrew Tate. But yet, you literally had Harvey Weinstein on your show. But also, that right there is why so many big name people are afraid to call out Candace Owens. Because the truth of the matter is, there is no depth that is low enough that she will not go. I make a video saying I'm going to stand up for a widow and the orphans of Charlie Kirk, and I call out the cowards that were supposed friends of Charlie that are saying nothing. And Candace's response is, Graham Allen is a pedophile. No facts, no evidence, no nothing. In fact, I would argue to say that most people know that we're an adoptive family. So I've had my entire life ripped apart through investigations and everything, because any of you who have adopted a child, you know you can't just show up. So I would say that my background is cleaner than Candace Owens ever has been. In fact, I also hold a highest level top secret security clearance you possibly can have. My past and my background has been looked at every single stone. Can you say the same thing, Candace Owens? So to that accusation that is just not only slanderous, defaming, and libel, I simply say, are you sure about that? Because for you to make a statement like that, you better have something to back it up and prove it. My life through adoption, through working with the Pentagon, everything has been torn apart, upside down through lawyers, investigators, everything. My record is clean. Worst thing that's ever happened to me is a speeding ticket in my life. So I'm an open book in that regard. Go ahead, look. Have your Canaanites go look and try to find whatever. But this is yet another example of Candace Owens taking the extreme character assassination. This is the new Nazi. Calling people a pedophile is the new calling people Nazis. If people disagree with what you're saying, by Candace's very definition, I'm just asking questions. Well, anyone who asks questions about the person asking the questions.
Bronson, real quick, I think we would agree that you and I got started on this, among many other people, going through Candace's content and pointing out the discrepancies, the contradictions, the lies that she has pushed. And these are all like actual arguments, right?
Yeah.
We weren't going through and calling her, ad hominem. We weren't participating in how ad hominem attacks. What we were saying is like, she is lying. We want to show you that she's lying. This is what's going on. And from the very beginning of all that, all I've ever received down in the comments is ad hominem attacks. And by the way, the same thing with Candace Owens. Candace Owens has now been on her show multiple times, says that I am paid by TPUSA. That is a lie. She can't address what I've actually said, and she won't actually argue the points, but she will again attack you personally, trying to undermine your credibility.
No, they don't have an argument. Even when you see her followers try to argue a point on X, they post debunked evidence from months ago as somehow they'll no, look, this is absolutely true. This shows that it wasn't like what? We've covered that 4 months ago. Already went through all that. So no, this started with picking apart, looking for truth. And then when you realize they don't care about it, okay, well now I'm just going to make fun of you.
Yeah. And on top of that, what they've done like we were talking about, I keep seeing these recycled talking points and recycled things that have been completely debunked. Like he didn't jump off the roof with a rifle. Like that's been debunked 100 times. I can come up with 50 more, but the fact is like all of these things that they keep recycling over and over again. And it's like, you're fighting the same, it's like a swarm of flies that you're trying to fight. And these are people that are pretending. And what's crazy to me too, is like, if you look at that footage and you do any analysis of that footage where he's jumping off the roof, you can clearly see that there is a towel, that towel, there's something rigid in there that is literally completely going against gravity and either standing upright or off to the side. And you can see it. And the other question is like, if it's just a towel, why wouldn't he throw that down? Like he's clearly covering something with that. And then as he starts to walk, you can see where he actually drops the rifle next to his leg and he's actually moving the rifle with his leg. These are the same people that can spot a pixel in the crowd and say, hey, this was a iPhone gun, or this over here that's a bug is actually a drone.
That's a bullet. They can see a bullet on 30 frames per second.
Yeah.
But
Flying
can't
through the
see
air.
that rigid towel that he's running with.
It's like suddenly they turn into Mr. Magoo's like, I can't see it. I don't know what you're talking about. And again, I do think that a lot of these people are not, well, look, I think most of these bots, we understand bots as these, just a computer program that's posting, it's a fake account and then auto posts. I do think what we're dealing with, and we had Patriot Dad to talk about this, is these are what they reference as sock bots or sock puppets, right? These are real people, but they're managing 50 accounts and they're going through it and they're responding to this. And, they're copy and pasting this and that and actually responding to real comments. So they're showing X that it's a real person. So they've had to get more sophisticated to actually make it look real. But that's what's happening with this, folks. And need to pay attention.
They're definitely troll accounts. The problem is they're just not very good at it.
No. They don't have to be good. It's a numbers game. That's the problem. It is clearly idiotic, but there are so many. Look, when I have real people that are in the comments saying things like, how could this be the best evidence that they have, referencing some of the surveillance footage that they released when they were trying to identify the shooter when we didn't know that Tyler Robinson existed, right? Like, this is the best that they have. Why did they show this? Like, when you have to explain to people like basic physics or civics, rather, like, I don't know what to tell people out there. Like, you are proof that our education system is failing, and I think it's intentional. And this is why we've reached a culmination to the point to where everything that the left has done, so that they could get to this point in time in history without even using AI. And without even using someone sophisticated or all that convincing, someone like Candace Owens that's going to use Blue's Clues to convince you that, because a picture was moved, that means that Erika Kirk killed Charlie. That's where we're at. A lot of work went into that. All right.
is a traitor and they're a pedophile. That's the new thing of the left. Because that's what I also want to bring up the fact through the rest of this is Candace Owens has been and always will be a raging leftist that has been a wolf in sheep's clothing for over a decade. The only difference you're seeing now is that now it's more money for her and more opportunity for her to let her inner leftist out. She also makes this allegation about me being on PragerU's payroll. You can see it here. His God is money. He is on the payroll of PragerU to influence people. Well, this is very interesting because you can look at PragerU's tax filings. They're a charity organization, so you can see every dollar of everything that goes out from PragerU. You won't find Graham Allen's name, but what you will find is Candace Owens' name. In fact, didn't they pay you hundreds of thousands of dollars? Because that's where your show got its start, correct? PragerU? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty positive that the only person in this conversation who's been on PragerU's payroll, as if that's this bad thing, but you think it is, so let's talk about it. The only person who's been on PragerU's payroll is you. Is you. You are the only one. This is what Candace Owens does. She manufactures outrage. She manufactures rage. She manufactures character assassination because that's what she does. So those are the responses to the allegations. But now I feel that it is time to just tell the truth, right? That's what Candace Owens says all the time. It's time to tell the truth. It's time to let the cat out of the bag. And here's the truth that no one has ever wanted to say for the entirety of the past decade. And that is Candace Owens this is the biggest kept secret inside the conservative movement. Candace Owens has been the biggest thorn in the side, diva, absolute nightmare wrecking ball to the entire conservative movement behind the scenes for the past decade. That's the truth. That's the truth. Anyone who's not on record in front of a camera, they'll tell you the truth. Every single person that has ever worked with Candace Owens that's not still being paid by Candace Owens or has an NDA with Candace Owens, they can't stand her. She's horrible, treats people badly. She doesn't fulfill her commitments. All of it. In fact, let's start with the first thing. Turning Point USA, when back in 2017, when she was like the thing for Turning Point USA. All right, let's go back to that photo I was referencing, Todd. This was at Arizona State University, and this was my very first campus event with Turning Point. Talking to the crowd, they get to ask us these questions, blah, blah, blah. Well, what's known in the background is Candace was notorious for just disappearing and not showing up when she was supposed to show up. She would just disappear, not show up. In fact, if you look in the back there, you see the sign, and the sign actually says Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens. You see, at the time I was told that it was because Candace was sick. This was them running cover for Candace. But since then, I've learned that that's actually not the truth. The truth is this was just par for the course of Candace Owens to just negate her obligations to Turning Point USA, the very organization that you would not know who Candace Owens is right now if it were not for Turning Point. It's also known, again, the other biggest kept secrets out there is Candace Owens has morphed into everything that she feels she needs to be to make the most money that she can while she can do it. Everyone that has ever known Candace Owens, you see Jeremy Boring talking about this, everybody knows that Candace Owens cares about two things. And really the divide between the first one and the second one is pretty big. 1 and 2. Number 1 is money. Candace Owens cares about money and money alone. You see, oftentimes when people accuse people of something, like she said, my God is money, that's normally projection of themselves. Again, Candace, I have said this on the show multiple times. I'm willing to I'm willing to show you my bank account if you're willing to show me yours. And what I can promise you is your bank account is far larger than mine. So for my God being money, I disagree. And many of you will comment and you'll say, Graham, this was horrible. All her Canaanites will come to her defense and be like, you should have talked to her in private about this. The truth is I tried on multiple occasions. I text Candace Owens on the phone number I had for her. I wrote her DMs. And then when I thought, well, maybe she changed her number, I reached out to Brandon Tatum. And I said, Brandon, can you please deliver this message to Candace directly for me? I just want to talk. I want to find out what's going on. He told me that he would. I believe he did. And she did nothing. She doesn't want to talk to me because I'm not big.
Bronson, let's talk about Brandon Tatum for just a second. What do you think? What's your analysis of him and the fact that he's not coming? Now, I will say right about the time, right before she got the alleged death threats that we have no evidence for from the French foreign assassins and the one Israeli, you always got to throw in one Israeli in there because it always goes back to Israel. He was calling her out. And then all of a sudden he stopped after that. What's your, what do you think's going on with Brandon Tatum?
Tatum, I mean, he was saying some things. He was, he had brought up like he's not sure why Candace is going in the direction that she's going. I guess I don't recall him like really calling her out, but he explained why. So he views Candace as a sister. So he's thinking 10, 15 years down the road that he doesn't want to destroy his relationship with her, who he considers family, over anything that's going on ever. So I feel like there's better people to come calling Candace out than Brandon Tatum anyway, in my opinion. I don't care if he ever comes out against Candace or not.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Again, the problem is if we're going to promote these people on the right, on our side,
yes,
and they're supposed to be driven by some sort of moral compass, and they're staying silent, I think everybody on the right needs to call them out, because it's not just when the left is going crazy and they're trying to push this trans ideology on you. You got to be able to call a spade and just be an honest broker of information. And I think that's my biggest problem with so many of these people. I don't know. Jeanette Garibian says, if Jordan Peterson was on your show today, what do you think he would say about Candace? I think he'd say that she's a Machiavellian narcissist and spend the next 10 minutes. I would love to hear, I actually posted this on Michaela Peterson's Twitter the other day. And that was, look, I can't wait for your father to come back and talk about all that's going on. What were you going to say, Bronson? I cut you off.
Oh, I was just going to say he probably wouldn't have anything nice to say in a very Jordan Peterson way.
Yeah, exactly. Odorized Ramblin says, too bad the government won't get involved in a lawsuit against the Whore of Babylon like they did with Alex Jones. Yeah, I don't know if I want the government getting involved in things like that. I do think they could, behind the scenes, could present evidence if someone does sue her. I don't know if they're willing to do that or even could do that before the trial, but I think it's worth noting. I don't want the government involved in anything. Been following you since October. Much respect. Glad to see you turn up the heat on Candace and her cult. Thanks. Heat's been turned up. I covered that one earlier. Amber Power, $1. Thank you very much for that. There was another one I tagged to hers. Listening in, glad to see this team of gents, team up gents, grace and peace. Thank you. Our good buddy Jay Witt over there. Graham has been, y'all are wrong on this. Fair enough. Again, if he has been and I'm wrong and I just haven't seen it, I apologize to Graham.
Maybe he just doesn't have as big of a following as I thought he did. I thought he was a much larger content creator. So
yeah,
I could be wrong there. Maybe he's just not a big name like I thought he was.
Graham called out Candace on Tim's show and his own. Fair enough. I think anti-Semitism and or resentment toward attractive women drive much of Candace's audience. They are rabid. However, I believe the true goal is to destroy the conservative movement. I agree. I think they're hijacking a lot. Look, I think they understand that the anti-Semitic trope is very popular and they're using that and putting it. And of course, I think that honestly, that Candace Owens herself is an anti-Semite. So, it's all part of the game. And she's utilizing everything she can to get additional traction. There's no doubt about it.
Big enough to talk to her, and or she knows that I am a contrarian to her beliefs. So therefore she goes on the Hodge Twins podcast because that's a layup interview. Let's talk about her and Charlie's relationship. It is also known by everyone that the thing that gave Charlie literal ulcers from anxiety and worry was Candace Owens. It is known by everyone inside that whenever Candace would come up, Candace is calling, she wants something, or she wants to talk about something, or she wants to come this, she wants to come that. Charlie would be riddled with such anxiety that other people would have to talk to Candace for Charlie because Charlie knew what Candace actually was. It's like that scene from Halloween. I don't know how many of you have seen that, but there's this scene with Dr. Loomis and he's talking about Michael Myers and he's talking about the fact the first several years he spent trying to reach Michael Myers. And then the next 10 years, he tried to keep him locked up because he saw that what was behind those eyes was nothing but pure evil. I believe that the same thing happened to Charlie behind closed doors with Candace Owens. Charlie at some point saw what was behind Candace Owens' eyes. And all he wanted to do was figure out a way to appease her enough to not have her turn against Turning Point, because you're seeing what happens when Candace Owens decides she wants to destroy something, somebody, someone, some movement, whatever it may be.
Look, when you go back and look at Candace's history and her attempt at modeling and becoming an actress and things like that, I think ultimately the goal of Candace was to become famous and to become popular. And she was going to turn to any means necessary to make that happen. And she found that she was welcomed on the right. I don't think that she is politically principled whatsoever. She became a darling of the right because she's a black female. And I think that was extremely marketable. And, the DEI queen, I love that. I love that comment. I hope we can make that go viral because that's exactly what she is. I do want to talk. I was just looking at Graham Allen's YouTube page. His channel has 164,000 subscribers, so he's not a big content creator on YouTube. And then on Rumble, he only has 212,000, and he's getting about, his views are not that huge.
What's his X following?
What's that?
What's his X following? X numbers?
That's a great question. Let me look that up real quick.
Or TikTok? Is he a big TikToker?
I don't know. Let's see. And again, I've been following him for a real long time. Let's see. So he has 560,000 followers on X. So, again, I'm gonna give him a buy on this. All right, maybe he's been doing it and I just haven't seen it. You know, I'm gonna research that a little bit more. So overall, I'm gonna say you guys are right. I'm wrong for right now, but we're gonna look into that some more.
Charlie lived in fear of Candace, not because he didn't believe that he could defeat her, but we had elections to win, and it looked best to look as a united front in front of the world so we could win this elections. And he knew of what she was capable of doing if he did not. That's the truth. That is the truth among everything. Charlie grew to a point where he could not stand her. And in fact, if you look at Candace's history, this is par for the course of Candace. In fact, it's deleted now, but in January of 2016, this is the article seen around the world that most people had trouble finding because since then the website's been deleted. But this is less than a year before Charlie and Candace met. Now, this really is Candace Owens. It even says at Candace_Amber, which if you know anything about Candace, you know that's her middle name. And it's an article written January 6th of 2016. I think affairs are romantic. Let's just read a little bit of this, shall we? And I know this is going to piss a lot of people off because cheating is awful, because millions of families are torn apart year after year because therapy, because counseling, that's why. I mean, even without the promise of marriage, the devastation it causes on even the most basic levels of dating is unthinkable, horrible. But I think affairs are romantic. I've an admittedly twisted mind. It's never swam along with the masses. Where the world sees black lines, I am blinded by colors and shapes, wonderful patterns, daring zigzags, lyrical neons. We hear that someone has had an affair.
That's called schizophrenia. That's what that's called. Schizophrenia.
And the world cries out, quote, tragedy, but I, sweet comedy. Humor found not in collateral damage of tears, but in our inescapable humanity. I laugh with the universe as it silently mocks our institutions, marriage, dating, and other associated obligations, structured lines, make-believe lines, rendered powerless by our inevitable chaos, by the one look and then lust, the one sentence and the fall. And falling is falling after all. It's a descent and then a crash without intent, purpose, or control. Nobody falls on purpose. It's fatal misstep and then gravity at risk to both yourself and others. Nice little thing here. We won't read anymore, but that's Candace Owens a mere 1 year before she met Charlie Kirk. Again, I say my point to you today is Candace Owens has always been a leftist. She's been a leftist for the past 10 years. And now it's becoming cooler for her to admit her leftist tendencies. You see, I know for a fact of how Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens actually met. You see, very shortly after that article, Candace Owens sees it's not really getting a lot of traction. It's not really taking off. Then this mythical thing started happening where here comes the mythical unicorn idea of the black conservative. Now we have a real moneymaker. Candace then changes her YouTube to Red Pill Black. She starts making YouTube. In fact, I was first introduced to Candace via text message of Chad Prather while I was in New York going on a Fox News hit. Candace was just starting. And to her and Charlie's own verbal admission in front of thousands of people at Turning Point USA's Winter Gala events, the very same one that she mocked Turning Point for doing this year, Charlie Kirk would tell the story of how they met, and Candace would agree that somewhere in that January of 2016 to 2017, when they met, Candace has this radical transformation. She becomes a black conservative, and she approaches Charlie Kirk at an event saying, "Hi, I'm Candace Owens, and I want to free the minds of Black America from the Democrat plantation." Now, I don't know if that was a scripted thing between Candace and Charlie to say, because man, is the PR of that great, but that's what they did. And for someone who says certain things are so weird all the time about how Erika and Charlie met, isn't that a little weird that Candace Owens inserted herself into Charlie Kirk's life and not the other way around? Or at least that's the public story of which Charlie and Candace both told everyone. And I do not believe Charlie to be a liar. It's a little weird if you ask me. Then she goes on to be Turning Point and blah, 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 and she can't get her story straight. In fact, can we find the clips, Todd, where she says one time she left because Charlie lied to her, and then the other time she was actually fired? It's the segment with the dual videos on it. Whenever you have that ready, let's pull that up, because we can't even get the story straight on why she left Turning Point USA, even though everybody within Turning Point USA knows why she left. No one could stand her. But let's listen to what she has to say. So let's click the one on the right first. This is from her podcast, where she says the reason she left Turning Point USA is because Charlie lied to her about money. Let's click the one on the right, Todd, if it'll play.
I was resigning from my position, as the communications director of Turning Point USA. Now, there has been a lot of public speculation as to what led to that decision. The media ran with it was anti-Semitism or some disagreement about Kanye West, but that wasn't true. None of that was true. The truth, and I think that you very well know what the truth is, because you were around for it, is that Charlie and I had a disagreement, which fractured my trust in him. He did something that he had never done before. He lied to my face about money.
Do we not think that it's odd that more and more bad blood is coming up between Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk himself? Like, we're seeing more and more of this. And I think a whole lot more is going to be coming out. And I think that that is the real driving force. Ultimately, she, she was very spiteful of Charlie for whatever her own made up reasons were. And now we have several people coming out saying that she was actually talking shit about Charlie. And now we have a phone call, which I may scroll through and try to find that phone call where she is just going off on Charlie. But that's what we're seeing. We're seeing more and more of this. We're seeing more of the truth bubble to the surface. What's your thoughts on that, Bronson?
I have not heard about this phone call.
Yeah, matter of fact, I'm gonna play this, and then I'm gonna try to find that phone call. I think I reposted it.
But no, I'm not surprised. Like, I don't think Candace would. I'm sure the money's like a huge bonus, like probably pretty nice. But I think her main desire was power and influence.
I agree. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I think that's what she wants more than anything. I think she has always been jealous of Charlie and TPUSA, the fact that she could never achieve what they did.
Yes.
And I think and now she is directing that spite, that rage, and that jealousy toward Erika Kirk, because she thinks she should be in charge of TPUSA. That's really what this comes down to. And I don't think, I'm going to disagree with Graham just a little bit. I don't necessarily think that she's driven by money. I don't. I think she's driven by exactly what Bronson said, and that is her desire to be taken seriously, to be a key player in everything, and to be influential. That's what I think she really wants in all this.
Now, in retrospect, I believe that the manner in which I discovered the lie might have been
That's it.
by
That's all we
design.
need. Candace says on her show that she resigned because Charlie broke her trust and he lied to her about money. But then she goes on the Hodge Twins podcast and she says that she was, quote, gotten rid of. Let's play that.
Have to understand, like, when you do deals with Satan, like, he's not the creator. He is constantly trying to rebel against the creator, so he can't create. And so when these people get rid of people that are good and godly, Charlie got rid of me because I said, yeah, I know you can't just mass murder kids. Genocide is always wrong.
Charlie got rid of me because you just can't mass murder kids. So which one is it? Were you fired or were you let go? We all know the truth. You were fired. Just like you were let go from PragerU.
Can I hop in on that
let's
quick?
talk about other things that are weird. Erika wants to talk about the weirdness or
send it.
So I just sent you a post from Milk Bar TV. And I think Milk Bar is correct. The way Candace said that is not what she meant. It didn't come out correctly. And Milk Bar made a post on X doing a pretty good job of explaining what it is she's saying there. She's not saying that Charlie fired her.
And you sent that to me in
DM on X. Yep.
Okay. Let me pull that up real quick. Pull the post, and we will show this.
Not that I want to defend Candace Owens or anything.
That's fine, Candy.
Truth is
we know
important.
we know where your loyalties lie now. I'm just joking. All right, so we can see right here what Nathan Livingstone, Milk Bar TV, says. People are taking this clip and claiming that Candace is admitting Charlie Kirk fired her. She's not. It's obvious to me she's saying when people, as in Zionists, get rid of people that are good and godly, Charlie got rid of me because I said, you can't just mass murder kids. Candace is saying Charlie got rid of the same as her because he spoke out against Israel, according to her. Not that Charlie got rid of me. I can understand how people could hear this from how she said it, but she's doing the same thing she constantly does, making herself the victim of Zionists and grouping Charlie Kirk in with her. Besides, TPUSA distanced themselves from Candace way before October 7th. So that is a very generous take.
Well, when she's saying got rid of me for speaking out against, she's referring to Daily Wire and what she was gotten rid of by Daily Wire for. Because she wasn't speaking out against that during the time she was with TPUSA because it wasn't happening.
Yeah, fair enough. And look, here's the fact, though, is that Candace would never give anyone that much grace if something very similar had been said to her. So, no, that's fair. Look, we want to be fair. And
Never mind, you're right. You're right.
No, again, I think we need to cover this as fairly and as honestly as possible. And we don't need to resort to the same things that she does and exaggerate things or blow things out of proportion. So we'll at least put that information out there. Everybody can interpret that how they would like. You gotta, I don't know. That doesn't sound like that's what she's saying. And I definitely understand anybody that thinks that what she's saying is that Charlie got rid of me. Because that's how I heard it. I get it. Maybe Nathan is right. So
excuse me, Candace.
Good call there, Bronson.
Wants to talk about the weirdness between Erika and Charlie's love story, but yet no one calls out the fact of the weirdness between her and George Farmer's love story. So let's look at this interesting video right here. First of all, this is the PragerU set. The very company that Candace says I'm on the payroll for to attack her, chick, you worked for PragerU. They paid you hundreds of thousands of dollars for you to start your podcast. But I digress. This is them talking about how they met, were engaged, never had any romantic interactions of any kind. Let's play it.
A wedding special. No, I'm not talking about William and Kate or Harry and Meghan. I'm talking about me. I am getting married this weekend. So we decided that we were going to make this a wedding special and introduce you guys to my fiance, future husband, George Farmer. So just to give everybody context, we got engaged after 2.5 weeks, maybe?
I think it was about that time. Yeah.
Right.
That's right, yeah.
Right. Which is pretty crazy.
Yeah. Whirlwind romance, I believe.
I know.
nothing romantic was said, you know, between that day and the day that we got engaged. Nothing romantic was said at all. You know, there was no overtures. We didn't go for dinner. Like nothing.
Flowers.
No, nothing. Yeah, nothing exactly. And so I was very clear about that, because it was almost like getting to know oneself in some ways. It was kind of a very strange experience. You know, it was like I saw myself in her. And in doing so,
Pause. That's all we
and that
need.
sounds
Now,
sort of-
now look, who am I to say what is true love and what is not?
Yeah, I'll echo that. Same thing. Who am I? But it's freaking weird. Like, that doesn't make sense. And it does seem like, oh, well, you know, I kind of like this person. I see some of my, like, I meet people like that all the time. And then you talk for a couple of weeks and then you decide that you're going to get married. I'm not saying anything nefarious is there, but I do think it is odd, and it's definitely fair for criticism at this point when you are questioning every single aspect, every single sentence of anything that Erika says or does in every aspect of their life, saying that, you know, Charlie was in the Truman Show. What I can tell you is that when I see different clips and videos of Charlie and Erika together, it looks very sincere to me. What's your take on that?
Exactly what you just said. Although it's weird. It's weird.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree.
I wonder if George Farmer wasn't who he was, if she still would have found somebody and gotten married to them within 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And look, here's a fact. Like, George Farmer has been accused of sexual assault by another dude. That's a fact.
Yes.
That's not speculation. That's not anything just making things up. All right. He has been accused of sexual assault by someone that has restated that fact multiple times. So, and I don't have his profile pulled up. What is it? Raheem. I'll pull that up and some of his accusations on that. So this is not saying, oh, well, there were some weird text messages and you got to read into that a whole bunch and say, oh, well, possibly she's grooming this person, which I think when you look at the totality of what actually took place, nothing like that could even be reasonably said. But when everyone is willing to investigate Erika, and then you have actual sexual assault accusations going against George Farmer, and everybody's acting like, you know, he's untouchable. So I think that those do need to be investigated and to be looked at. And I think at this point, it's fair game.
As far as I know, it's just the one guy that's been publicly making those accusations, right?
Yeah.
There haven't been other.
Okay. Now, I'm going to tell you that this is, I can't verify this. There's been a lot of people that have said that there was a flight attendant that he allegedly paid off and that there was charges pressed against him. I don't know if that's true. You guys can look that up and figure it out if there's more information. Every time that I look that up, I hear a lot of people talking about it. It doesn't seem to have any real evidence backing that. So take that as a grain of salt. But again, it's definitely worth looking into.
I would think you're going to have a hard time, even, you know, like, even if he did anything, I would think you would have a hard time finding any real evidence of anything from somebody who has, I guess, the power that guy has.
Yeah, I look, he comes from an extremely rich family, and he's extremely rich. These things can definitely be covered. I'm not saying that that's what happened, but again, I do think those things need to. We're talking about much more than some text. We have somebody that is claiming that he was sexually assaulted by George, and I think that's fair to look up. Shoshana Grace says, I think anti-Semitism, resentment toward we covered this one. Gary, you're speaking out, and that's what matters. Thank you very much, Ginger Buff. I was being facetious about the government. I'm also 100% of the government being involved. Didn't get that one communicated properly. No problem. I get it. Candace, one, honesty. I have admittedly twisted my. She actually admitted the truth. She said the truth. Graham was sitting on scam dance intel that would have helped discredit her months ago. He revealed details we needed in September. Let's be honest. Look, the more I'm not saying you're wrong, Dr. Altoids. The more I'm looking, and as this is playing and I'm listening, I am looking through Twitter and looking at some of the things that he said. I think there's somewhere in the middle of that. Sounds like, and it looks like that he has been speaking out, maybe not as forcefully. Fair enough.
Yeah, no, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Like, I'm okay with being wrong. I guess my expectations for somebody who claims to have been that close to Charlie, like, how has this not been multiple times a day, a daily thing for him for the last however long? Like, I just doesn't, I don't know. I just would expect more, I guess.
Here's my litmus test for that. Like, if you haven't been mentioned on Candace Owens' show, then you weren't making a big enough wave, I guess
when did Candace mention, when did she go after Graham? This was a few weeks ago?
Yeah,
this
I think
week,
it was
this last week.
Or late last week.
All right. And how long have you been getting attention from Candace?
Hey, look, I am the most discussed obscure YouTuber ever to be talked about on Candace Owens' show.
And how close were you to Charlie?
Never met the guy.
Right. That's all I'm saying,
Never met
guys.
the
That's
guy.
all I'm saying.
I don't know why this one won't. There we go. I do not stand with Candace. I think she is a narcissist who didn't even like Charlie, and now she's trying to take Erika and TPUSA down because she's jealous. Yeah, I agree. Lucas, Raiseworks, love you, brother. Thank you for all the support that you give to this channel. I appreciate all the hard work giving us all honest, reliable news based on facts. I ask everyone to donate what they can to Paramount. Let's keep this honest news source growing. We always love donations, and that definitely helps us continue to do what we can do with this, right? The other thing that I would say that would be just as big of a deal is, again, if you're constantly sharing our content, find other content creators that are speaking truth to these lies, like Bronson, like many others out there. I need to just start creating a list. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do that. If you're not following us on Twitter, you should, but I'm going to put together a list of people that you should be following, because even if I start rattling off some names, I'm going to miss a bunch that I will be remiss to do so. So follow us, obviously, but share our content and get out there and use your own voice to speak out against some of this craziness. And you know what? I would also say, put yourself in TPUSA shoes and Erika's shoes. You know, just having a little bit of sympathy or empathy, you would think, would be enough to at least have these people, like, even if I thought that Erika Kirk was possibly guilty, what I would do is I would at least wait till the trial of Tyler Robinson and to see what facts come out. I mean, that is something that a reasonable, logical person would do. Like, let's see what actually comes out with that, and then I can make a much better informed decision on this before I just start dragging people through the mud, destroying their lives, destroying their reputations over having a little bit of fun. Because that's what this is. Like, people are indulging the worst parts of themselves when it comes to what's going on with Candace Owens and TPUSA and Erika Kirk, unfortunately.
And there's people making a whole lot of money doing it.
And there's also a lot of people making a whole lot of money off that. When she was with Charlie, Israel haven't gotten to war yet, so nobody was being killed. Then she's mixed up. I'm not exactly sure what you're saying, Patrina, but yes, clarify that if you can. I want to make sure I'm addressing you properly. We need to just be glad he is speaking out, and hopefully all of us are doing our part to get this under control. I loved this episode. Never had seen him. I agree with that. And that's something that I expressed on Twitter. Somebody else was kind of saying the same things that me and Bronson are we're not going into the paint against Graham. I said the exact same thing. I said, you know what? I don't care if he wasn't speaking out. I'm just glad he is now. And that's what we need to be grateful for. So I agree with that sentiment. Fair enough. And look, I don't care if any of these other big content creators, I'm going to do my best to just mildly critique them if they start coming out against Candace, because we need them to do that. Like, people need to understand the facts of this and not believe these lies. This is a very real psychological operation that's taking place, and it's bad for the country. Brandon Tanian won't speak out against Candace because they co-founded Blexit. He credits her for boosting his profile to where it is today. Fair enough. I've also heard that, matter of fact, Jay Witt has said this many times, that apparently he provides all of her merchandise for her. So there could be some financial.
Yeah, I've heard that too. And as far as Tatum goes, pretty sure he's probably closer to Candace than he was ever to Charlie.
I agree with that.
I just like, good luck getting anything out of that dude. He seems like he's got a pretty solid foundation and is going to stand on what he considers to be his morals, and going against Candace Owens publicly. I don't see him, just stop watching him. Stop listening to him then.
Yep. Nope. That's fair. Graham has been speaking out almost daily. Again, both Bronson and I have said it. If we're wrong on that, we retract that statement. We'll look into it. And again, no matter what, I'm happy that he's speaking out now. When you look at grooming allegations, all the sexual stuff was posted by Jillian and not Erika. That is correct. One autocorrect is all they really have. Also true. And we'll look at that later on, I think, and take a look at that. So, and for people that aren't aware of that, that allegation going around and the facts behind it, we'll take a look at that and make sure that you understand. Just present it objectively. What do you think about this? So the worst you can say about it is that she talked inappropriately to a 15-year-old girl. That's a far cry from grooming someone or anything else. And I think she just slipped up. Well, autocorrect made the text say what it did, sex, and then she kind of jokingly played that off. Now, this is a girl that she was 15. She was a very mature 15. She was talking about sex. She was talking about drugs with other people, not with Erika. But she made it very clear that she kind of had a mouth on her and was talking about inappropriate things all the time. Jeanette Garibian says, can you Google what are the symptoms, behaviors, and characteristics of a media influencer with antisocial personality disorder who all her life has focused on destroying reputations or movements, whether it was BLM or others? We will do that, Jeanette. And Jeanette, we still need to have you on to talk about all this. Tammy McDonald, I share all your content always. Thank you. And I know you do, Tammy. Thank you. I see you on X, and you are a Paramount warrior, and we appreciate you very much. Lisa Knows 429 in X dug deep into the allegations. We played part of her most recent video. We will also have Lisa Knows 429 on this channel on Friday. So make sure you tune in Friday for that. All right, let's get back to this.
All I'm saying is, for someone who says that Charlie and Erika's story is weird and off, I think we can all agree that Candace and George's love story is not what we would call conventional. If you agree with that, comment yes or no in the comment section. And again, I'm not saying their love is fabricated. I'm not saying any of those things. I'm just pointing out the fact the woman that calls everybody else's story weird and how Charlie's life was basically like the Truman Show, hinting at an arranged marriage and a planted marriage and all this other stuff. It's interesting that no one ever talks about Candace Owens' marriage. But why would they? Also, let's talk about the Daily Wire. Candace Owens, again, patterns emerge. Candace Owens has been a leftist her whole life. She continues to be a leftist her whole life. After the black conservative thing had kind of run its course, Candace Owens then decides she's going to go to the Daily Wire. And her original show was simply called Candace, or the Candace Owens Show, or the CO Show, or whatever. And many people probably don't remember this, but it was behind the paywall of Daily Wire. And the original premise for the show was it was Oprah. That's what it was. It was Oprah. It had a live audience. She would have bands come in and play. My good friends, Skillet, were one of those bands. I went on there to the show from time to time. But what they don't talk about is somewhere in between the 3.5 years or so that she worked with Daily Wire, and maybe it had to do with COVID, maybe it didn't, but somewhere they abandoned the live audience idea and all the overhead over it. And then they just went to a normal podcast show, very much like she does today. Now, people will be like, oh, that's smart business. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Bull crap. People don't change shows that are working. So what that indicates is Candace Owens was not ROIing how much it cost to put on that show. And so Daily Wire makes a change. All right, you're just going to do a very straightforward one camera shot podcast type thing. They do the whole rebrand deal and all this kind of mess. But then Candace Owens decides to become even more anti-Semitic. And then it leads to her being fired from the Daily Wire. Patterns emerging again. Fired from Turning Point USA, fired from PragerU, fired from Daily Wire. Now, public reports may say, oh, it was an amicable split. She stepped down from Turning Point. It's an amicable split. She stepped down from PragerU. No, it wasn't. It never was, ever. It was always about bleeding the stone dry and then moving on to the next bigger, more monetarily valuable thing. You see, the other thing that strikes me is this as well. And here's the thing. Did she ever have Charlie Kirk on her Daily Wire show? I'm just curious. I don't remember if that was, and maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know, but everybody talks about how close they remained and all of this. But I don't remember her ever going on to her show when she was at the Daily Wire. He went on her show when she was at PragerU, but not Daily Wire. That's weird, right? For such close friends. But here's the thing that probably is going to end my career right now. And it's the thing that we're not supposed to say. And the part that allows you all to know that every single bit of this that Candace does is not because she believes in any of it. I know for a fact that the people that sell the ads for everyone, myself, other prominent people and things like that, they also sell for Candace Owens. It's not the sponsors per se, but the people that sell these individuals. It's almost like a war where the weapons are being sold to both sides to keep the war going, because there's millions of dollars on Candace Owens' side right now. So it doesn't matter how terrible she is. It doesn't matter how morally corrupt it may be or how terrible what she's doing is. There's millions of dollars in advertising for what Candace Owens is doing. So these agents and these things are saying, go, Candace, go. Keep going. Keep going deeper. Keep going bigger. And then you got people like me who are trying to fight back against it. And I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do with that information. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do with the information that the powers that be, because there's only so many people that sell so many ads, they're fueling both sides. It's disgusting, really. It's terrible. But let's keep going with other things that we have with Candace Owens here. Because I don't just want to live in the past for forever. I want to talk about things that have gone on. So yesterday, Candace Owens made an accusation about Erika deleting all of Charlie's episodes and this and that. And then she gets a comment from what she believed was a Turning Point staffer. This guy's not a Turning Point staffer. He's actually doesn't even work for Turning Point. Let's see. No, take me down. This is where she says, not to be awkward, but they deleted all his episodes. And then Ryan Marty says this down at the bottom. He goes, hey, fun fact, DEI queen. I'm the one that exclusively runs the CK YouTube, and nothing was deleted after his.
Hey, look, she completely went over the top reaction with that. Like that's clearly something that offends her deeply. And it's true. Look,
because she knows it's true, right?
That's exactly right. She knows it's true. She knows that she was marketable by both TPUSA, Prager University, and the Daily Wire because the color of her skin, not the content of her character.
Yeah,
That's
she
a
was
fact.
a useful idiot, and it drives her crazy.
Look, when you go back through Candace's content, you will find that she has never come up with an original political thought, not once. All she's good at is speaking into a camera and parroting what everybody has already said. The fact that she was a black female made her extremely marketable. So she was a salesman. That's what she did. So she knows it. She feels it every single day. And that's why DEI Queen just set her off. And she was. And I love that so many of her sycophants started coming to her aid, including Baron Coleman. Made me laugh.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And now everybody's racist.
Oh, yeah. And it's hilarious that no. Maybe it's not because you're black, Candace. Maybe it's because that you're a liar. You defame people. You're selling people a story that isn't true, and you have no evidence to back anything that you say up. And no matter how many people you convince, those facts remain. I don't care if every person in the United States ends up believing Candace Owens. She has zero evidence for a single material claim that she's made. That's a fact.
Well, it's not only that, she's exposing herself now, how stupid she is.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, now we know why you got all of your opportunities. That makes sense.
100%.
Stop making up garbage accusations that you literally know nothing about. You become worse than KJP and Contagia Brown Jackson. Now, what's really interesting about that is Candace Owens becomes unglued over this. The DEI remark. In fact, she even brings up Turning Point spokesperson Andrew Colvett into this conversation. She's so offended that someone would bring up DEI hire. Because now Candace Owens, like she did with Ben Shapiro a couple weeks ago, she is pulling the race card. In fact, the very leftist that's been a leftist her entire career, that made her entire career pretending to be a black conservative, that made a whole book called Blackout about removing this slavery victimhood mentality from Black America, that you are not a victim, racism is not a thing, people in America are not racist, all this. Now, all of a sudden, oh my gosh, all these people are racist. She says maybe the spokesperson of Turning Point, Andrew Colvett, or the new CEO can help clarify why my race is being mentioned and why I am being likened to Contagia Brown, who I have not one thing in common with other than brown skin. Actually, you do have something far more in common with. You're a leftist.
And you're dishonest.
You're a leftist in disguise, much like she is a Supreme Court justice in disguise. You're a leftist, Candace. So do us all a favor and just come out as a leftist and save us all of the drama. You see, Candace Owens 2.0 is she's just revealing who she's been the entire time. You see, character assassinations, that's a tendency of the left. If you disagree with her or you challenge her, she makes unfounded claims that she's going to destroy you. And that's where the fear comes in of the cowards who refuse to speak up, even though they claim to be Charlie's best friends. But see, she's been letting you know her playbook from the very beginning. This is a clip from her Blexit days where she's saying that this is what the left does, but this is actually what Candace Owens does, using fear to control you. Play it.
When people know what you are afraid of, they can control you, okay? When people know what you fear, they can control you.
Play it one more time, just so everybody
When
hears
people know what you are afraid of, they can control you, okay? When people know what you fear, they can control you.
A lot of creators today are afraid of
Yes, don't
one thing and one thing only. They're afraid of losing viewers, and that intel loses money.
Again, let's address this on the merits. Candace Owens has never said a single original political thought. The only reason that she has been marketable and has been popular is because of her skin color and the fact that she's a woman. And everybody knows it. Like, we all know that. There's lots of times that I used to watch and like Candace, and even I was like, you know what? She's not really saying anything new that I haven't heard before, but I do like the fact that we have a black female on our side. I like that. I used to be a big fan of Candace's, but it's not because I ever thought, oh, you know what? I'm going to hear something new. No. Here's the other thing too. The other thing that made her marketable is she could tell truth being a black female that other people have said already, by the way, but she could say it to a minority crowd and not get labeled a racist. That's where she was a convenient feature of many of these, because again, what we have talked about in the conservative movement for a really long time, because we care about minorities, is the fact we've talked about broken homes. We talked about a crime rate that doesn't make sense. There's lots of things that we could go down and talk about that are cultural issues within minority communities. But if you're a white person, especially if you're a white dude, you're going to get labeled racist. And just us bringing that up, just talking about that, it's a basic fact that everybody knows inside their little hearts, whether they want to voice it or not. And here you are, you guys sound like a racist. F off. Couldn't care less.
No, don't.
Candace knows this. Candace knows that right now she has the biggest microphone. Not in our party or on our side. She just has the biggest microphone. We no longer have our biggest microphone. Charlie was murdered, assassinated, taken from us. And here's my question to everyone who claims to have known Charlie, for all of you who watched Charlie that grieved his death. If it had been someone else who was murdered and Charlie was still alive, do you think he would let Candace Owens do this? The way that he's doing it, attacking a widow, attacking the children. If your answer is anything other than no, and I want you to put your comment in the comment section right now, you didn't know Charlie Kirk at all. There's no way. There's no way Charlie would have let this stand. There's no way Charlie would have let this go. But let's keep going. We've got another thing for Candace here. This one's an interesting one. And this shows the delusion of Candace. You can go ahead and pull it up, Todd. Shows the delusion of Candace. And this is Matthew Mayer saying, if your, quote, discernment produces slander, confusion, and chaos, it is not from above. God will not be mocked, and anyone who has brought into these lies needs to repent. It's that simple. Let's play it here where she says that her platform is God's
We are close,
platform.
by the way. I want to say I'm not even the one doing this investigation. This has been all of us. I just have the platform, and this platform is not mine. I genuinely know that this is God's platform. And whenever he's done and has used it, I'll be off of this. If this is the reason why I have the top podcast, to just get to the bottom of this because it's reveals so much to us, then so be it.
Pause.
We are
9 times out of 10, doing what God wants us to do doesn't lead to the top podcast. 9 times out of 10, doing what God wants us to do doesn't make us worldly successful. She points out in there again, maybe this is the reason why I have the top podcast to be able to do this. No, you have the top podcast because you engage in evil. You engage in the ways of the world. Again, let me bring you back to the Bible verse that was sent to me by a very, very famous preacher, a very big name preacher, James 3:14-16. But if you have bitter jealousy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast and be false to the truth. This is not the wisdom that comes down from above, but is earthly, unspiritual, and demonic. For where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there will be disorder and every vile practice. That is Candace Owens. That is Candace Owens. That is what she does. She is a wrecker of all things. And even Tucker Carlson, who I've had many disagreements with here lately, even Tucker Carlson perhaps it's starting to turn against Candace Owens. Tucker Carlson has this to say about internet sleuths. Here you go. Play it.
Of what happened to him. And will we ever?
Of course, I don't know the answer. I never weigh in on it because I love his widow, Erika, and I'm sad to see. I'm sad to see so much of what's happened ever since, and I love Charlie, and so it's it's emotional for me, and so, but I will just say the responsibility for investigating crime goes to the civil authorities. In this case, the federal and state authorities, and so the internet is not in charge of investigating crime.
Pause.
All right, look, I know he's basically saying, look, even Tucker Carlson says it. That's not the way that I see that. I feel like that is such a slimy, tepid response and carefully crafted, by the way. There's nothing to say there. Like, look, the old Tucker Carlson, the one I used to follow and love, would be like, hey, you know what? Exactly what I've been saying on this channel for the last 5 months. You cannot sit there and accuse somebody of murder with no evidence. That's what he should be saying. And again, I don't feel like this is an affirmation of what Graham is trying to say at all. What's your take, Bronson?
No, it was good rage bait for the Canditards. That was about it.
Couldn't agree more. One thing I do want to say about this, going back to her original tweet, is I love that how Candace not only flips out about the DEI hire part of this, but she also goes full Karen on this. Maybe the spokesperson of Turning Point, Andrew Colvett, or the new CEO can help clarify my race, why my race is being mentioned, and why am I being likened to Ketanji Brown, who I have not one thing in common with other than my brown skin. What she's trying to do is basically tell on this, like, let me speak to a man. This is Karen Owens in full effect right here, telling on somebody. I think that's freaking hilarious. So anyways,
and she's trying to get any response she can from somebody at TPUSA, anything, and they're not giving it to her anymore. It's great.
It is exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. Let me see. Stop sharing this tab. And we'll go over here to this one. All right, I broke it. Hold on, let me. Hold on, folks. Sorry about that. Let me get this up here. In the middle of a ad in.
But we need every one of
There
you
you
to text the word Graham to 989898 right now. Help support what we do. Help keep us going. Support the sponsors that support us. They're going to send you a free 25-page information kit on how gold, silver, and precious metals can protect you and your family in an unstable economy and an unstable world. That's Graham, Graham, to 989898 right now. Back to the point. To everyone who is watching this, all my friends that have been in this fight with me over the past decade, to everyone that has seen what Candace has been doing, to everyone who knows what she's doing to Erika is not only unbiblical, it is evil. To Charlie's children, bringing Charlie's children into her reasoning behind, oh, Erika had something to do with Charlie being murdered because his 3-year-old daughter woke up at 2:45 in the morning, all of it. My hope and my prayer for all of you, because I'm sure that Candace and her Canaanites are going to clip this and they're going to tear me apart and skin me alive. And I am well aware that this video might, quote unquote,
Doug Dozier, or Dozier, 8782 says, Nikki, you can agree with Candace and also be on the anti-Israel train, right? Is that allowed? Yeah, so that is allowed. As a matter of fact, I would think that, to me, all of the anti-Israel campaign jumping onto this whole thing shows me that most of them are disingenuous, or at least completely very unintelligent, because you can hold some beliefs. Now, I've said it 100 times on this channel. Like, I have always been very Israel indifferent. Like, Israel is just not something that I pay a lot of attention to, don't really care. I don't think that Jews or in Israel control the United States. I think all of that is just nonsense. And I think there's a lot of, when you look into the actual evidence of it, which I have, because I'm like, hey, you know what? When I started hearing more and more of this, like, hey, you know what? Am I ignorant on these issues? And I started looking into it, and I heard from some of the best, most well-informed, if you will, people on this, and including many different times. I even listened to Ian Carroll's sales pitch on this whole thing, and I don't believe it. Now, here's what I want to know for those of you that are anti-Israel, because I think you can absolutely be critical of our relationship with Israel and be critical of Israel and not be an anti-Semite or anything else. When I'm constantly being told that I'm a Zionist, like, I want to know what you mean by that, because as I understand it, a Zionist, well, let's just say the actual definition of a Zionist is someone that believes that Israel has the right to exist. And I do believe that Israel has the right to exist. Beyond that, like, we can debate our relationship with Israel. We can debate whether or not we should be giving them as much money as we do. There's pros and cons to all of that. I don't think we should be giving nearly as much money to many foreign governments as we do. And I think we need to get some of the money, power, and influence from other governments out of our country and address that politically. So I agree with some of the criticisms that they have. But if you're calling me a Zionist, are you saying that you're not a Zionist, that you don't believe that Israel has the right to exist? And if you do mean that, like, what does that look like? Well, like, do you want Hamas to win? Like, I don't really understand that. You know, what's your take on that whole thing, Bronson?
To me, it seems like what they mean when they call people a Zionist, it means they're somehow Israel first.
Yeah.
And I don't know when that happened or how that happened. So you either, like, if you don't speak out against Israel, that means that, well, you're Israel first and you care more about Israel than you do the United States.
What it really means in this context is, if you don't believe that Israel killed Charlie Kirk, then you're some sort of, you sold out to America. That's what it means. It's a way to intimidate people, or attempt to intimidate people into believing what they believe without giving you reason to believe it.
Yeah, it's no different than calling somebody a racist who's clearly not a racist, or calling somebody a PDF file who's clearly not a PDF file. Yeah. It's same thing, different face.
It's, yeah, just another ad hominem to try to make a point and to try to undermine your credibility regardless of what you actually believe.
But no, you can absolutely be critical of Israel.
Yeah.
100%. Like the government of Israel. I don't know why you would, I'm sure Israel has plenty of citizens who don't agree with a lot of what their government does, just like the United States has plenty of citizens who does not agree with what their government does. Yeah. So I don't like, what do we just everybody, most civilians are innocent and have nothing to do with the choices that their government makes.
Exactly. And look, I've heard Israel try to use the phrase anti-Semitic to get their point across, or to try to convince people to their side as well. I think that's wrong.
Sure.
In the same way that when Biden is telling you to take a vaccine that has been proven, you're unpatriotic. You don't believe in your country. In the same way that in some ways, which I may also agree with, Trump will say, hey, you know what? If you want socialism in this country, you're unpatriotic. That isn't true across the board, but it's the same thing. And it's some of these pejoratives are kind of used, I don't know, just way too often.
Yeah, everybody spews rhetoric and propaganda. And
exactly.
And geopolitics, the biggest thing is it's not black and white. I know everybody likes to look at it through like a black and white lens, yeah. but it's not. There is a ton of gray. So
nope, it's complicated. You need to get in there and kind of dig into some of those policies and what the pros and cons of those are. And again, I don't care if you're completely ignorant on it. You have the right to criticize Israel. You have the right to criticize Israel's government. And it doesn't necessarily make you anti-Semitic. But what I do say is when you have people like Candace, you have people, other influence out there, where their entire platform is built on tying every crazy thing to Israel, now you got a problem. Now there's some prejudice going on there that you can't get around. And not everything is going to be tied to Israel. Like, I have a much bigger problem with the fact that radical Islam or Islam, and I repeat myself when I say radical Islam. Islam is a bigger problem here in the United States than Israel or the Jews are, for sure. We don't have Jews taking over entire cities like we do with Dearborn and entire areas like Minneapolis and stealing billions of dollars the way that we see that is taking place here in our government. And I know many of you will argue like the Jews are stealing, the Israel is stealing billions of dollars. Look, there's some give and take there. And we have these complicated relationships with every single country. I don't care if you're talking about Germany. I don't care if you're talking about Britain. Like, we have complicated relationships. And the fact is that we've had politicians up to Trump that have allowed all of these countries to take advantage of us. And we've been taking over the coals by these people. And we are spending way too much money and sending too much tax dollars to these countries that don't necessarily have our best interests at heart.
And like she said, this is God's platform. That's why I have the #1 show. Well, I don't have the #1 show, but this is God's platform. And if I lose it for telling the truth, then it's meant to be by the Lord that I was meant to lose it for telling the truth about this. Defending my friend, his widow, his children, his legacy against evil. We have a special call in the Bible to protect the widows and the orphans, and that's what I'm doing. So to those of you who still remain silent, to those of you who still remain quiet, my prayer is simply this. My prayer is that this is the battle cry that wakes all of you up. Candace Owens can destroy me. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. She can't destroy all of us. If we all start punching back together, if we all start pushing back together, she cannot defeat all of us. But that's a decision that you have to make. That is a discernment in your own spirit that you have to make. And I'm calling on every single one of you now to search deep within yourselves. If you claim to love Charlie, you claim to believe in Jesus and the Holy Scriptures, you claim to have the discernment of the Holy Spirit, then you know that this is wrong. And you can no longer sit idly by on the sidelines. I equate it to no more than the lukewarm pastor who has grown a mega church, speaking the easy things to talk about to grow the audience is big.
Look, I will say this right now. Even if my own subjective take on this is that Graham hasn't spoken up enough in the past, I appreciate what he's doing right here, especially. Not only is he speaking out against Candace forcefully, he's calling on other content creators and other people with a voice to do the exact same thing. And again, I can't stress it enough. If you're watching this now or you watch this in the future, like, your voice has more strength than you believe. Like, you getting in there and combating these lies has an impact. In the same way that these millions and millions of bots, look, I think it's probably like 2% of the country that actually believe what Candace is spewing. It seems like a lot more. But I think when we dig through it all and look at especially on the conservative side, that aren't spending all day on X and they're actually, working, providing for their family, building a life for themselves, somebody's got to pay taxes. I think the perception that they've been able to create through bots and, yes, a bunch of obsessed people that are going in there and just going on to everybody's account, like mine, like Bronson's, like everybody else, like Graham's, they give us a perception of that she's having a bigger impact than she is. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to understate the impact, because she is having an impact. And there are millions of people that believe this nonsense. But I want you to know that individually, you guys have a voice and you guys have more power than you believe you do. While I got this up, I'll go ahead and throw up the super chat. Have you seen Rabbi Sachwaliki's video about Candace Owens today? Debunks what she says about the Zoom. Thanks, Gary and Bronson. No, but we will pull that up.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. I think Jay Witt was talking about that.
I
but
think
I'm
it's
not
possible.
sure.
And then he won't speak.
I'm sorry, what were you saying, Bronson? I hit the button on the next.
No, I think Jay Witt was talking about that video on his episode today, but I'm not sure. I haven't seen it.
I'm going to pull it up so we can all watch it here in just a second.
The actual truth, because he is now a prisoner of the lukewarm church that he has created. Many of you are prisoners to the lukewarm audiences that you have created. And then last but not least, I ask everyone who will see this, for all the clippings and all the out of text things and all the character assassinations that may come with this video. My hope, truly, when I say this, Candace, I am praying for you. And I'm praying for your soul. Because I am truly concerned about the state of it. I'm not God. I'm not Jesus. Who am I to judge? I'm no one. I make mistakes. My life is not perfect. I've done many things I'm not proud of. I almost lost my marriage 10, 12 years ago because of me. I've been very open and honest about that. It's in this very book. And my hope is that my testimony one day will make it to where other people do not make the same mistakes as me. No one is perfect, and I'm not saying that anyone ever will be. But what I'm saying is right now, Candace, I am praying for your soul. I am praying that you see the light. George, if you care about your wife at all, where are you? You need to intervene, George. You need to intervene because something is wrong with Candace. Not just the fact that she's been a leftist her whole life and it's now just coming out. Something is wrong. And I think you know it. I've heard the rumors. I've heard the things. George, you've checked out. I've heard all this. Again, these are rumors. Who knows the truth? But you need to step in, George. It's time. And my last part for this is I hope that one day people will look back at Graham Allen. I will not be written in the history books. I will be a footnote of a footnote, and that's fine. But I can't just let evil go by without saying something. I can't just let attacks happen without saying something with people that I've known for decades. I refuse. And I will not get to heaven and the Lord look at me and say, what did you do with the platform I gave you? Why did you not defend Erika Kirk, the widow? Why did you not defend Charlie's children's, the orphans? And that's one final thing I want to say to all of Charlie's friends that remain silent right now. One day, the Kirk children will grow up. And one day, they're going to look back and go, why didn't you protect my father's legacy? Why didn't you protect my mother? And why didn't you protect us? Even if you lost, why didn't you do anything? And that I cannot live with. My own children, Dad, why didn't you defend Charlie's? Why didn't you defend Erika? Why didn't you defend those kids, Dad? My own children ask me those questions. Nope, not me. If you agree with all of this, I ask you to do me a favor. I ask you to hit the like button right now. I ask you to leave a comment in the comment section. I ask you to clip segments of this and post it everywhere, because that's how we start to damage Candace Owens. For those of you that are new watching the show, if you've enjoyed it, I ask you to hit the subscribe button right now. As many of you know, it is my distinct honor that we are the lead-in show to Dan Bongino, the GOAT, the greatest to ever do it. And so we're going to be raiding into Dan's show right now. And we're going to open the phone lines for a call in here in our after show. If you enjoyed this episode, give us some American flags. And I hope this episode inspired many of you. I hope that this episode gave some of you courage that need it. But right now, while we have everyone here, I just simply want to say a prayer, and then we'll bring Todd back in and we'll do calls. So let's do that right now. Lord, we come to you today. Lord, we come to you today because at the end of the day, what we need is you. Lord, we don't know what the outcome is. We don't know what happens after today, but we know that you, God, are in control. Lord, I pray that my words today were words that you had me speak. I pray that anyone that is listening to this, calling out evil is what we're supposed to do. But the most important thing, Lord, is that everyone watching right now have a personal relationship with you, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. So, Lord, I ask that everyone listening to my voice right now, if they don't know you, Lord, or if they did know you and they've fallen away, Lord, I ask today that they say that prayer to re-invite you back into their lives or invite you for the first time. For you gave your son, Jesus, to die on a cross for us, die, raise again on the third day, so we may have the opportunity to spend eternity with you. Lord, I ask today that people find salvation in your grace, your love, and your mercy. That from this moment forward, they are a different being made in the image and likeness of God. Lord, we thank you for your grace. We thank you for your love. We thank you for your mercy. And all God's people said, amen.
All right. Amen. Lisa knows who's down in the comments. Again, we're going to have her on Friday. Israel is separating from the U.S. in a lot of ways. They aren't happy with Trump's relationship with the Saudis. So that is true. I know there's also a lot of debate going on with our commitment to providing weapons, and us not providing them weapons is not necessarily a good thing for the U.S. either. So again, what we're talking about is an extremely complex relationship that we have with just one of our many allies. And by the way, I would take Israel as an ally over a lot of the turd ass countries in the UN and in the EU for that matter. A lot of these folks are not our friends. And, you know, even going back to the Steele dossier that came from MI6, that came from the UK. Look, we have a lot of frenemies out there that don't necessarily, we've been being taken advantage of for far too long. And Israel, we can debate all that stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that. Real quick, I'm not exactly sure. I didn't want to play it and script the audio here, but here is a video from Rabbi Waliki. I believe this is the right one. If not, we'll find it.
About Israel. And he hated it. Now, as for the Zoom call she's talking about, what she's referring to there is a Zoom call that Charlie had the night before he was killed about Israel. Now, why did he have this Zoom call? So first of all, this Zoom call was not a sudden Zoom call. It wasn't an emergency call to talk him off the ledge or anything like that. This Zoom call was on the schedule for weeks in advance. And it was put on the schedule by Charlie because it was the night before he was starting his next campus tour. Now, a lot of people don't realize that a huge number of the questions that Charlie would get asked on his campus tour were always about Israel. And he hated that. It drove him nuts because he was there to talk about America. And he would get asked all these questions about Israel. It was something like half the questions he got asked were about Israel. And he wasn't an expert on Israel. So he wanted to prepare to go out on campus and talk about Israel. I wasn't giving him talking points, but what he did was in advance of the call, his staff provided me with the most commonly asked questions that he got about Israel. And then I prepared information about it. He didn't accept every point that I made. That's fine. That's not what it was about. But he wanted to talk through the talking points. And there were a number of people on the Zoom call. Josh Hammer obviously was on it. He said that, but it wasn't just me and Josh Hammer. There were a number of people there. I'm not going to say who they were because it's not my place to disclose who else was on the call, but there were some other people from Charlie's staff. There were people there. on the call, and we were going through and talking through these issues, and me as the expert from Israel was providing my insight on these issues. That's what the call was about. It was called by Charlie. It was on the schedule for weeks. Okay, so that.
All right. So that's what he has to say about that. You can take that for what it is. There's no way for me to confirm or deny that information. So again, take it for what it is. Closing thoughts, Bronson, on all of it.
Why did it take him this long to come out and start talking about that?
Again, there's a lot of people over in the chat saying that, yeah, actually, well, I'm getting distracted here. Texas Motherbird 63, did you hear what Ryan Fournier said in the live spaces on X about Candy? Sent you a DM. Yeah, I played that and I reposted it as well. So we played that at the beginning of this. But thank you for sending it to me, because I don't know if I saw that before you sent it to me. So thank you for that. Yeah, you know, there's a lot of folks over in the DM. I'm willing to say that maybe I just hadn't seen them. We'll figure that out. Or
yeah, it's like he might just not have been as big as I thought he was.
Yeah.
Which is just my mistake. But I'm glad he's doing it now at least. And I wish he were calling other people out by name to at least maybe try to get some traction on specific content creators, specific right-wing talking heads that have larger followings, to hold them accountable. But I'm glad he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
I don't know if he really said anything that we or a lot of people haven't already talked about weeks, if not months prior to this video that he did. But
I think if anything, he being someone that was close to Charlie and someone that was close to Candace and spent a lot of time with her behind the scenes, I think some of the most powerful elements of what he was saying is like, hey, she was horrendous behind the scenes. She was a diva. These are things that we've all heard, by the way.
Mhm.
And I've heard from people that know her extremely well. So, you know, it's just, I don't know. Like I said, I'll take what I can get. What I would have liked him to do is what you and I have been doing, and that is kind of highlight some of those things that are obvious lies. And I think the more that people that do that, the better off that you're going to be. I'm putting together a video right now doing exactly that. We're going to be talking about that on, well, tomorrow for one. Wednesday, folks, I'll be doing another live stream with Artie Trolls and Edie Lowe. And what we're going to be covering are the 10 things that are being said, that the 10 lies that TPUSA is supposedly committing. We're going to address those things. And then on top of that, we're going to address the 10 biggest lies from Candace Owens as well. So make sure you join us Wednesday. It'll be with Artie Trolls, Edie Lowe. That'll be a lot of fun. Tomorrow, I'll be doing another joint live stream with Jay Witt. That'll be great. And then I have a guest on Thursday. I'll let you know who that is. And then, of course, Friday, we have Lisa Knows will be coming on Friday. So a lot heavy schedule this week. Tomorrow, I'll be guest hosting the Liz Wheeler show. I'm not exactly sure when that actually airs. It is pre-taped, but that'll be great as well. So make sure you tune into that. Tell me how I did. Yeah. What else was your big takes from that entire thing?
I don't know that I got any big takes out of that, to be honest with you. I would like to see some other people maybe speak up and corroborate that when Candace would reach out to TPUSA or Charlie, that it made him nervous and made him concerned. I mean, we kind of just, not saying he's a liar, but we kind of just have to take his word on that, I guess. And I don't really like doing that with anybody. I mean, he's saying a lot of things that I'd like to hear, but I would just like to see something to back it up is all.
Well, what would you think that he could provide that would give you the corroboration that you'd want from that, the evidence of that?
I would think Charlie would have shared that information with somebody, right? Either with a text message or
kind of backed it up and actually had it scheduled. I mean, who's going to come out and confirm that? Andrew Colbert? And then what does that do for us? I I don't know.
That's fair.
You know, maybe some emails that show them scheduling that. If that's the way that they scheduled it, I don't know. I agree with you though. Look, at the end of the day, that's what protects us from false narratives, from psychological operations. Is like, we don't believe anything without evidence. So you heard them say it. You've heard Candace's side of that whole phone call debacle, that kerfluffle. You can figure out, you can determine there's no evidence for either way. So you can determine for yourself who you think is telling the truth. But yeah, I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's the only thing that we can ask for is evidence, and anything else, hearsay, take it as a grain of salt. It is what it is. At least there's a counter narrative out there. And I do think that's important. But like you said, anytime that we have additional evidence, that's going to strengthen the case against her for sure.
He did also bring up an interesting point too. And I've heard other people bring this up. Jay Witt's one of them, to where it's, well, how many times did Candace have Charlie on when she was working at the Daily Wire on her show?
Mm-hmm.
And then when was the last time Charlie had Candace on the Charlie Kirk show?
I brought that up just the other night. Like, what we do know is on September 9th, they actually showed a debate with him and Ben Shapiro. I think it was pre-tape. I also know that he had Ben Shapiro. That was the second time in just 2025 that he had Ben Shapiro on, or they did a debate together and a discussion together. I don't even think it was the first one wasn't necessarily a debate, but I think it's very obvious that maybe Charlie and Ben Shapiro didn't see eye to eye, but they had mutual respect for one another. If they wouldn't describe each other as friends, I think they probably would.
And then maybe Charlie wasn't concerned about what Ben Shapiro would do to him or TPUSA.
Yeah, no, exactly right. Like, he at least knew that he could talk to him in good faith, and Ben Shapiro wasn't going to go out there and try to slander him and
right.
Try to character assassinate him just because they disagree with one another. Somebody's asking, Casey saying, are we going to cover the phone call? Is that what we're talking about? I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about.
I think she's referring to the Candace phone call.
Oh, yeah. So I was actually trying to find that again. Fair enough. Let me try to find that. I should have reposted it or bookmarked it, but I didn't. Let me see if I can. Let's give it one more. Give it the old college try. If not, I'll find it. I'll track it down. I'll play it for you guys tomorrow with Jay Witt. Yeah, I'll find it for you guys tomorrow. Glad you reminded me of that. I did try looking for it earlier. If there's anybody in the chat that actually has a link to that phone call, send it to my DMs, or you can post it in the chat itself. Hotbox Slayer says, I stumbled into a high-level meeting at Burger King between Foxes and Finance and Project Constitution.
Those two.
All you need to do is take a picture of yourself at Burger King, and we have to accept it as true. Let me see what other super chats we have, and we'll close this down. The other one was a phone call, Gary. Yeah, I'll find it for you guys tomorrow. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. Tune in tomorrow. We'll hit a few of these live chats. 100% with you, Gary. We all have to call our BS and conspiracy theories out. Let's all stick together. Couldn't agree more. A lot of people saying watch the entirety of that. That was let me see. Let me see if I can find a longer version of that real quick. That's the only one I'm finding. You guys send me the link to that. I'll play it in its entirety tomorrow for sure. We'll get a couple of phone call related things addressed tomorrow.
Somebody in the chat said Erika Kirk is the happiest widow they've ever seen.
I don't know what you like. First of all, 1 minute she's crying too much. The second, like, she can't do anything right. So if you already have been convinced that she's evil, that she's involved with this, there's nothing that she can do and nothing that me and Bronson or anybody else can say to convince you otherwise. You've determined that, even that there is, like, I have no idea what's going through her mind. You know, she's grieving through all this. She's trying to deal with the media. She's dealing with allegations that are horrific against her and her company. Kind of just started against her directly in the last couple of weeks. But before that, I mean, going back literally 2 weeks or so after Charlie Kirk's death, people were already pointing fingers at TPUSA and Mikey McCoy and Andrew Colvett and the rest of them. She's navigating a lot that a widow shouldn't have to navigate. I don't know how I would act. And look, I'm not saying that she's a great public speaker. I'm not saying that she, you know, I don't know. I don't know what to say. What's your thoughts on that?
I think she's doing a pretty good job considering everything she's had to deal with.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Well, what is she supposed to do? She's just supposed to come out in public and cry and moan and talk about woe is me and my poor husband, my poor family.
Yeah.
She's also a CEO now.
Yeah.
She has an entire company to run.
And I think she's trying to do her best to make Charlie proud of her.
And push forward, put on a face, try to run a company, keep everybody there positive. Yeah.
What we don't know for sure is what goes on behind closed doors. And, you know, for everybody to judge her the way that they do so harshly, and like every time that she gets on camera, it doesn't matter what she's doing. It's evil. Feels weird, gives people the bad vibes. Like, it's because your brain has already been tainted and that's all you see. Like, I've watched so many of these videos with Erika and just like, oh man, you know, that looks terrible. Like, you know, whether it was the memorial service, whether it was her interview with Jesse Waters, like I watched it and I'm like, man, it sucks. And then I see that same clip where people have on X, that same clip on X, and people are just going through and like, oh God, look at this. Like, never once in my most critical mind did I think any of those things. It's because like that is a reflection of you as a person more so than it is a reflection of what Erika's actually doing. You just want to believe this. These are people that are bought into this thing. Like the palm gun didn't satisfy you. The flying drones didn't satisfy you. The iPhone gun didn't satisfy you. The tunnels underneath Charlie didn't satisfy you. Come up with 50 more. And so now we've turned to TPUSA and now we're blaming them. Oh, the French Foreign Legion didn't cover it. Israel didn't cover it. So now we've directed all of our attention. And by the way, they're not even pulling out anything that is relative to Charlie Kirk's actual death. It's just a matter of smearing poor Erika Kirk and TPUSA. Yeah, that's another thing that's very indicative of all this stuff. The fact that, you know, Candace can't pull out any texts.
I would assume she would have some, though. Didn't she do a show with TPUSA in 2024?
She did. But it wasn't with Charlie, by the way. It wasn't. I looked that up. I don't even think Charlie was at that event.
Why? I thought it was wasn't it a women's thing?
Yeah, I don't know. I looked that up weeks and weeks ago. But from what I remember, I confirmed. And again, take this as a grain of salt because I don't have it in front of me. But I believe I confirmed that Charlie Kirk wasn't there. Let's, you know, they're gonna fill these speaker slots, and they don't have to like you to do that. But you would think if they were such close friends, she'd be able to point to a body of work from 2018 and or text messages from 2018 to much more recent, and she can't do that. And you know she would if she could.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying she might have text messages in 2024, but they just might not be of any substance, or at least nothing that would show that they were really close buddies.
Yeah, I agree with that. Look, I'm not even going to say that. I think they're trying to protect the privacy of others, but I'll look to see if there's a clip for anything anywhere. I just randomly threw on a. Charlie made a post where he acknowledged Ben as someone he looked up to for wisdom. Yeah, look, I think they had a positive relationship. And look, if they didn't, who cares? Like if they despised each other. They were clearly friendly enough. Just like Bronson said, he was going to bring them on. They're both huge voices within the conservative movement. And you don't have to be buddies with everybody that you work with, right? They're the same line of work. I don't know that we can say one way or the other. I mean, Charlie spoke positively about everybody, even if they didn't like them. And the things that he said about Candace, even though I think there's clear evidence at this point that they did not have a good relationship, is proof of that. He's just trying to be a peacemaker, trying to keep drama down. Nobody's got time for that. Yeah, I'll definitely play that tomorrow. Many of you are saying over in the chat the Red Eyes video was way longer and had good information, if my understanding is correct, as well as Graham has spoken on a lot of the lies. So I think that is, look, I'll just say that regardless of where Graham was before, I'm glad he's where he's at now, and I'm thankful for his message. And we'll kind of leave it at that.
I agree.
Yeah. Here we go. 30-06. I've spoken about the 30-06 dozens of times. I feel like this is kind of a troll comment. That's fine. Yeah, and we've talked about this too. The pyrotechnics was something that Charlie loved. If you look at AmFest 2023, 2024, they had lots of pyrotechnics. It looks like WWE. It's a big, it's meant to be a big, spectacular, fun event. And even going into his memorial service. His memorial service wasn't anything where people sat around in sackcloth and ashes and were crying. It was a celebration of his life and the impact that Charlie had on our country and on our politics. And by the way, his ministry, which was a big part of what he did. He was as much a minister as he was a political talking head, if you will. So, like, again, everybody just wants to make something out of nothing. And if you understand TPUSA and you follow Charlie before he died, which most of these people didn't, and or most of these people did, but they hated Charlie and they hated TPUSA to begin with, you would understand kind of what TPUSA did and what it represented.
Yeah, it would have been weird if they didn't have pyrotechnics.
Yeah. And like, what does that prove? At worst thing you can say is like, oh, it was tacky. Okay. Like, it definitely doesn't prove that TPUSA had anything to do with his death. And to make that leap is just ridiculous. It'd be almost as ridiculous as saying that Erika killed Charlie and the evidence that you have is because somebody moved a photograph. I mean, how retarded do you have to be to even say that out loud and think it makes sense? You know what? You'd have to be so retarded that to convince your retarded followers, you'd have to pull out some Blue's Clues nonsense and lay it out like they're a 4-year-old. That's what you.
I still can't believe she did the Blue's Clues thing.
It was something special. She is strong in public and probably cries in the shower. I mean, again, you'll never convince me, having seen all of the different, going through and looking at all the different interactions that they had together, whether it was just Charlie shooting, a little short with them on vacation or out traveling or just out and about, or them on the stage together talking about their marriage and the things that they do together. I think they had a very real, very sincere relationship. And you just can't convince me otherwise by playing a little snippet here and a little snippet here of you subjectively saying, I wouldn't act like that. Well, you're not Erika Kirk. All right. And you're probably a moron. And probably half of what you do, I would find completely offensive and ridiculous. but that's not for me to judge. It's just like it's not for you to judge Erika Kirk in her time of grief, or as she's out there trying to put on a good face for everybody in the company and her husband and everything else that goes. Lisa says, and I'm over the grieving talk. They don't care. They want to destroy TPUSA, and they've made that clear. They want it gone. This is exactly right. And this is what I've said from the very beginning. This is the thing that keyed me into what was going on. About mid-September, I realized what was going on in the candy world. And what was very clear to me was like, hey, this is not just an attack on TPUSA or trying to find who actually killed Charlie. What's really happening here is they're trying to take down Trump. They're trying to take down MAGA. They're trying to take down TPUSA because they got Trump elected. That's what this is all about. You can wrap it however you want and tie it in however you want, but this is what it is. They want to stop the conservative revival and movement that Charlie started. And the way that they have to go about doing that is destroying TPUSA, because TPUSA is going to continue to move voters over and get people out to vote conservatively. And the left can't stand it. And that's exactly who you can tie all of this to. Now, I also know that there's lots of foreign adversaries that can't stand Trump being in power, and they want Democrats in power, because when Democrats in power, evil flourishes in the world. That's just a fact. Like what Trump is doing and standing up to the European Union, standing up to the rest of the world, and making sure that we have good policies that benefit the United States. That's what he's doing. And that's what they want to prevent. That's what all of this represents. Like, drives me nuts. It drives me nuts that people can't see how obvious this is. Bronson, why are you so negative, bro? Since you're a bigger YouTuber, why don't you contact Graham? Gary, get him on your show. I have followed Graham on Facebook, YouTube, and X. I believe I actually DM'd Graham the other day. Let me double check to make sure that's true. I'll happily have Graham on. You gonna answer that, Bronson? Why are you so negative?
Sure. I'm not trying to be negative. I just feel like people are being exposed for I gotta be careful here. Let's just say that I think we're making the wrong people famous. And I think we should be careful on who we choose to give our support, our views, our likes, and our shares to.
I agree with that.
That's YouTube friendly. That's YouTube friendly.
Yeah, that's fair. Oh yeah, so I DM'd Graham and I said, Graham, just the obscure YouTuber Candace keeps bringing up on her shows and very familiar with the lies and smears against me. I'd love to have you on to discuss how she uses the most disgusting character assassination attacks to discredit her opposition. Let me know if you're interested. I sent him my phone number too. So I'd love to have Graham on. We could talk about this more in depth. Yeah, I love this. But my cousin, uncle's brother, he hunts with 30-06, and he said it always go through. If you still think that it's impossible for 30-06 to not do what we saw, you just don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know how they go from can't be a 30-06 to Erika Kirk did it. That is a huge, huge leap. Like, even if you have a problem with the 30-06 being the alleged murder weapon, right? How do you get to Erika did it?
Yeah.
Like how I've tried looking at the dots that they're trying to connect. It's insanity. It makes no sense. No logical sense anyway.
Like, I don't even know where they stand on this now. Like, I don't, like, the goalpost has moved around so much. Like, do you still think the French did it? Do we still think Israel did it? Do we still think, like, I don't know what's going on. And then if they did do it, how did they do it? Where was this person? I mean, on Piers Morgan just the other day, Candace said, I don't know. I don't have any, I'm trying to find that out. I don't have a theory. And she won't buckle. She won't come down and actually put out what she thinks. Well, I don't think she believes anything that she's saying, but she won't put it out there because when she does talk about it, she sounds stupid. On Myron Gaines' show the other day, she said, I think that somebody shot him from the crowd. Like, how does that make sense? Like, so you're surrounded in a crowd and this person pulls out a gun and shoots, and nobody in that area realizes what took place.
Not to mention all the video. You would be able to see that.
Like, if you believe any of this stuff, you're a moron. I'm sorry, you're a moron. Or you're just willfully ignorant and you are just so captured by this whole grand conspiracy and how cool it sounds and how it feels. It's James Bond-esque mixed with a little Blues Clues. Like, that's where we're at. That's where we're at with all this. All right. I think we're gonna call it tonight. We've been going 3 hours. I thought I was going to be on here for 30 minutes, to be honest with you. Or maybe an hour at tops. Anyways, Bronson, thanks for jumping in, man. I appreciate you jumping in at the last minute. The last minute notice, at least.
Yeah, absolutely.
Always enjoy having you on. Yeah, and we'll throw this up there because it's caught my attention. We're so over the 30-06. Gary said he could replicate it, but it would be dishonest. We don't know enough about the round, so it wouldn't be an actual replication. This is exactly right, folks. I can reload a round and I can go out there and I can replicate something very similar to make sure that a round doesn't penetrate the width of a human neck. But look, if you got somebody in here, and if any of you people know somebody that is an engineer in material testing, how complicated it is to replicate what we're talking about, especially when we don't know anything about the ammunition and we don't really know anything about the condition of the firearm. It would be disingenuous to go out and make that happen. And what I can tell you is the morons going out and putting up ham hocks and shooting those with a 30-06 when there is nothing that even comes close to replicating what took place. We don't have a human being. It didn't hit them in the spine. The spine is very different. And I've said this, I'm going to repeat it though. What we know for a fact is there's 3 examples of a round shooting someone and not something very similar to a 30-06 or a 30-06. And that is Martin Luther King, Charlie Kirk, and oh God, what's his name? I'll think of his name in a second. He's a Green Beret. He was shot in the back, in the side here. Didn't hit any bone going in, but it actually hit his spine. It was a 7.62 by 54, which is almost perfectly identical to a 30-06. It's the Russian equivalent to a 30-06. The ballistics are almost the exact same. Very, very so, and definitely within the scope from the most powerful 30-06 round you get to the least. It's well in the middle to the top tier. Fact is, Chuck Ritter is his name. He was shot with a 30-06 from 25 yards away. And by the way, this is on video because it was during a firefight. One of his teammates actually had a GoPro on. It's on video. He was shot from 25 yards away with 30-06. It hit him in the spine. The round deflected downward. Not only did it not exit, but on top of that, he lived. And on top of that, he continued to fight. And by the way, all of his wounds, he has it on. You guys can go check him out, Chuck Ritter on X. You can go look. He's posted all the pictures of his wounds. He's posted his medical records proving all of this. So there's a lot of things going on there. Again, Martin Luther King. I know there's a lot of discussion around his assassination, but one thing that has never been contested was whether or not it was a 30-06. If we accept the facts as they are, he was shot from about 65 yards away. It did hit him in the jaw, but then it hit him directly into the spine and went downward. And by the way, he had an open casket with no exit wound. So there's a ton of similarities. Besides that, Chris Leish, he actually posted a series of studies on 30-06 wound patterning from the military and a bunch of other medical studies. There's a guy that it's documented was shot in the arm with a 30-06 from not very far away. I have to check that to see how far it was away, but it actually went into his arm, his forearm, busted one of the bones, did not exit. So this idea that it's just going to blow your head off, or it's the way that people have exaggerated what a 30-06 is pretty insane. So take that for what it is. We've talked about it ad nauseum on this channel, and I'm tired of discussing it. All right, any last words, Bronson?
Nope. You can catch me over on YouTube at Rage Bronson, also on X at Rage Bronson YT.
Yep. Go give them a follow. If you're not following them, you're wrong. Be back tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe. If you want to support us by becoming a member, we really appreciate that. Go follow us on X as well. All of our socials, I got links down in the description below. And until next time, stay armed, stay ready. We'll talk to you soon.